Thank you.
Okay, it's past 9:30. I'd like to call a meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order on this Monday, September the 21st. Ms. Kukla, would you please read the preamble?
Would you like me to call the roll first or read the preamble?
I'm stalling so that maybe Merlene can check in. So please read the preamble.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
I see Merlene on here now.
My name's Liz Kukla, and I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to read the preamble this morning. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law, under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Next slide, Maurice. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter.
Thank you very much. Now you can do a roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Barnes?
Barnes present.
Ms. Britt? Did
Here.
you see her this morning? Thank you.
I'm here.
Ms.
Hello.
Thank you. Ms. Faith?
She's having trouble communicating at the moment, but she's here.
She raised her hand,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Donovan?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Johnson, we have a quorum.
Just to be clear, Alana, you can hear everybody, correct? Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
she can hear. She just can't speak at the moment. We're going to try. She'll try to work through that.
Okay. Do we have any? Okay, we have a postponement request on 20-108 Judson. Okay, this is by the executive director of the Councilman Joe Jones. But we would like to postpone that case. And we need a date, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. They've asked for at least 60 days. So we're thinking the end of November, November 23rd or November 30th. Which one would you like, Madam Chair?
Let's give them the 30th, just in case.
Okay, thank you.
Without objection, board?
Kelly without objection.
Okay.
Arlene without objection.
Okay,
Yeah,
Lana's got a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
And Tim?
Without objection.
Okay, thank you very much. So moved.
Madam Chair, I believe Alana's going to try to log out and log back in again quickly to see if she can get her sound issue resolved.
Okay.
You're going to need someone else to read the cases.
I will read then, okay. Calendar 20-122 at 2802 Church Avenue. Hingetown LLC owner proposes to construct a series of 7 small metal Quonset hut-type buildings for retail or residential live-work tenant in a D3 local retail business district and a pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application from the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as listed in the agenda and in the public record. Okay.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to point out that Rick Riccardi, the zoning administrator for the city, typed in the chat that this case is no longer needs a variance for number 2 because it is not actually in a pedestrian retail overlay district.
Okay. Number 2 out. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Riccardi. Okay, Tim?
For everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement. At the end of that statement, I'm looking for you to respond with 2 words, I do, and your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Graham Veazey.
I do, Graydon Petznick.
I do, Marika Shioidi Clark.
I raised my digital hand first when you said it, so.
Okay, anyone else? Appears not. Let's move on.
Okay. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929. In 2014, it was placed in the local retail business district. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1940 to demolish a store and dwelling on this site. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Thank you very much. The legal standard will be judging the case on. Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the minimum floor area, distance, and off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship, particularly to the property, such there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, can we just take 1 second to do a sound check on Alana now that she's back?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you now. All
Perfect.
righty then.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. Who's going to be the representative of Hingetown?
You've got Graham Veazey, you've got Graydon, who's our acting, you get Marika Clark, another owner.
Okay, Graham, let's hear from you first.
Excellent. So thank you so much to this committee for your consideration. This is a unique site, and I think the uniqueness of this site is, what is warranting this design approach. And it's also kind of from a programmatic standpoint, something that we're excited to introduce from feedback. First of all, it's located at the corner of 28th and Church Avenue. You've got the historic 1865 print shop, if you can advance just to give some of the context slides. You've got the 1865 masonry structure, 3 stories, retail on the ground floor, and then residential on the second and third floor. You've got this existing 1-story masonry, which we're calling the Flying Tiger building because it's got Michaela Peachy's mural on the 28th Street side. And then you've got what really is this collection of 7 different live, work, creative spaces. You've got 7 parking spaces along what is Church and State, which is to the west, which is 158 apartments, roughly 17,000 square feet of retail, a 10,000 square foot public space, and then over 200 parking spaces, both below grade and then on the second and third floor. So we're just finishing up that project. And when you look at the different heights, both Church and State, you've got a 5-story building, and then you've got, 6-story building, an 11-story building. You've got the existing 1-story masonry building. You've got the 3-story 1865 building. And then if you want to advance, I think there's some more contextual slides. You've got this ability of these galvanized steel structures that really was inspired by a project we saw in Detroit called True North. And it creates this campus of unified creative spaces. So, in the instance that somebody wants to make it in their studio, if you want a creative endeavor to take up 2 of them, we've talked to a few different potential users where they would take multiple buildings and treat it as a collection. So 3 studios being into one. But you can see how even though they've got a mezzanine level, they're taller than that masonry, the single story CMU structure just to the right. If you want to advance, next slide. Here's also, just part of this work is going to be taking what was a 1980s glass block, kind of very much a fortress design, and opening it up along Detroit. So, we've just jumped from, you've got the bottom image being 28th Street, and then you've got the top image being Detroit. This 3-story grade out building, that's completed. We've got multiple retail folks occupying that first floor. So we want to bring that same sort of energy along Detroit Avenue and then take it around 28th. So this corner there is an important design intent. So as to continue that momentum. Want to advance, please. Graydon can talk a little bit about the specifics on each of the floor plans, but we've got 7 different structures where you've got these double height ceilings. You've got an open mezzanine that could be an office or could be a bedroom. You've got full kitchen, full bathroom in each of these units. So you've got that flexibility of standalone, but also as a flex space. You can go next slide, please. And I think one of our goals for this has been a lot of the feedback that we've heard from neighbors is that creating space that is at about $1.50 per square foot. So that's what we're targeting from a rental standpoint. So that's that will be the lowest new construction that you've got in the neighborhood. It will be the lowest from an office standpoint. It will be the lowest from a living standpoint, and we're really targeting creative individuals. So musicians, visual artists, even organizations that facilitate those sorts of things. And so as they're seeing hardships in terms of finding space with flexibility and even just like double height spaces to create work, we've got the transformer station in the neighborhood that also administers the art triennial. They're trying to find space where people can do these creative endeavors, and there's a hardship in terms of identifying spaces like what we're intending to build and being able to do it in an economical standpoint. And I think it's the unique site right there on the corner where you're not necessarily doing lot line to lot line. Those are some of those visuals. If you want to keep advancing. That's a context. That's the Flying Tiger building that I had mentioned. That was part of the Creative Fusion Fellowship that we had come through town, where we hosted international artists. So in that same spirit, we're trying to continue that creative momentum. We got a unanimous support from the Block Club, which with one exception, there was one individual who abstained on the vote, but otherwise, in what is a very lively and full of perspective Block Club, we got the support. I think that's because each unit, we've got a parking space designated along the church and state wall, and I think that you can see also this kind of communal green space between the buildings in this perspective in the site plan. So I know we're flying through a bunch of images. I'm not driving, but I'm just trying to keep up. But the texture of church and state, the texture of the neighborhood context of the cottage style houses along Church Avenue, 2 blocks to the west. You've got the industrial that was mentioned by the team. You've got this wonderful potpourri of art and other textures. New construction with the galvanized siding, even though we think there's more elegance in the approach from a visual standpoint. On these kind of hangars, we're deliberately not calling them longhouses or Quonset huts based on conversations we've had with acquaintances in the Lake Erie Native community. And so, we're just excited to be able to present this to the group and fill a void of creative space in this part of the neighborhood with all the exciting momentum that's happening.
Thank you, Graham. Who else was on for this case? I know Marika Sherry Clark, your wife. Do you want to add anything to this?
I just want to add, I think this is now an updated presentation that we're seeing. I thought the group might be interested in seeing, well, so this is a landscape plan. So as Graham mentioned, there's 7 of these galvanized hanger structures that you can see here on the site plan. We're imagining a nice green communal kind of courtyard in the middle. So these are some of the plantings that we're thinking about. And then on the left side there with the kind of the green grid that you see, that we would be planning to use permeable paving with kind of grass poking through. That would be the drive lane for parallel parking on the side. So we had shown 7 off-street parking spaces. Those parking spaces would fall along the left-hand side of that drive lane. So all the way down the edge of the Church and State project to the left of this. So we would be providing 1 off-street parking space for each of these structures. And then at the back is where we have some service, service entrances for the retail that fronts onto Detroit Avenue. And then there's also a pedestrian walkway around where it says existing 1-story masonry. There would be a pedestrian walkway around there to be able to access West 28th Street. But I think it's important to note also that we see this as an open community to the neighborhood. So we would not be constructing any fences in between these structures. All of these spaces between would be porous and open to the community. So the green space would be accessible by the public, but we imagine that probably would end up mostly getting used by the tenants of those 7 spaces. If there is, for instance, an artist that has open studio nights or that kind of thing, then, they could use that space as part of their kind of public gathering space. I thought it might be helpful if we could go back to the rendering that was on, I think maybe page 2 or 3, somewhere early. I think that's probably the easiest way to understand what this project would feel like. Those are just the context of the intersection.
And I think one other component that as we get there is making sure that this commission and group understands that we're not turning our back on either Church or 28th. The frontage of the structures on each of those 2 streets, you do have what Marika will walk through in terms of the materials that emit light and activity and add to the urbanity that we're striving for.
Yeah, the structures, each of them has this kind of insulated metal material that forms the arch. And then end caps we've designed with Graydon to use a polycarbonate material, which is translucent. So that's what you're seeing here, where you can see folks on the mezzanine in these renderings. Each of these buildings have a small mezzanine, which could be used as a bedroom or an office or flexible kind of 2nd floor space. And so you do get kind of a translucent effect on the end caps here, and then each one would have a more traditional transparent window through as well. And then on the ground floor, we're mimicking the wood cedar siding that's used on the Church and State project, again with a window on the ground floor. And then there's some nice kind of simple black up and down sconces that are also on the Church and State project. So we're trying to use materials to tie these 2 projects together so that it feels consistent through the neighborhood.
I really want to know about the heat for this building, these buildings.
Sorry.
The heat system, Carol, or Commissioner, or Chair?
Each one will have its own mini split heating and air conditioning system. So it'll be kind of individualized for each unit. So each one will be able to function as a standalone space. So it'll have its own heating, its own cooling. Each one will have, very simple, but full kitchens and full bathrooms.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I might just add a few things, Graham and Marika have presented this project and the excitement that we're all feeling for it so well. But a few things just to point out is that this development is purposefully a low rise and lower price point project that fits in to the community of Church and State and the other rising projects in the area. And it's really addressing a need that both Graham and Marika have found as owners of a few buildings in this neighborhood, of providing a good live-work environment for local artisans and craftsmen. And so this project has purposely been designed by the price point and by its low rise, and its very pedestrian and flow-through park-like center as a complex or a community within the site. So it's not your typical townhome or group of townhomes. It's meant to focus with the community. So that is the reason behind the grouping. That is the reason for the low-rise character of it, to be part of the community and to support the rest of the community. Because of that, our site plan grouping is meant more for inflow and outflow and use versus a more traditional residential development. And as such, we're limited by that low rise to have certain amount of parking, but we've worked very hard to work with the buildings around it and these buildings to park it such that it satisfies the users of the building in a downtown or very dense aspect. Last point of this is that this neighborhood is ever changing and is a very artistic and burgeoning neighborhood that really has a lot of different character to it. And because of that, the live work, the parking, and the complex unit of this on the site echoes back to, I mean, we have some historic documents in there, goes back to the original history of the neighborhood and the groups of buildings that you would find on these lots. But just to let you know where we are in the process, we've been through 2 block clubs successfully addressing the site plan and the parking condition. We've been through design review twice to successfully discussing the buildings and the placement and the site plan. And we've been through Landmarks Commission and have successfully gone through their meetings twice. So we really respectfully are asking for these variances to the letter of nonconformance to make this a viable project and an asset to the community.
Maurice, can you go back to the actual variance slide, because I forgot what the variances are now.
And we don't need all of the variances that were listed on the nonconformance. Some items going from the bottom, we have been able to add bicycle parking to the landscape plan. The sign detail is something that we would submit for permit later and go through the design review process should that be required. We don't think it is at the moment and have taken that off the set. The 7 parking spaces we've addressed, the rear residential building as a traditional single family or double family residential versus the complex. The D area district square footage, we are able to meet those requirements. The two-level loft nature of all of these buildings allows us to have at least 950 square feet in each of the buildings versus what was on the original drawings as the footprint, which did not meet that. So we're not asking for a variance for that. Of course, we've eliminated number 2, and number 1, we are looking for the live work component as being an integral requirement to this community and a much needed asset for the neighborhood.
So are you saying that basically the only variance you need is number 1?
We need
And 4 and 5.
And 4 and 5. Okay.
the rear residential and the off-street parking requirement in addition to number 1. Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Thank you.
Did you make a statement though that you had somehow to 12 parking spaces? You have 7 that are within the complex itself. I thought there was some reference to having some on-street parking.
No, just the 7 that's along the church building.
There is on-street parking, immediately adjacent to it, but not that's dedicated to our.
Yeah.
Is there parking available with all the other bigger projects going on and the amount of parking they're adding, or are they pretty much filled up with their needs for the building that they're serving?
We've right now you wouldn't have any trouble pulling up and parking. I think the biggest for the last 18 months, the biggest stress on parking was the hundreds of men and women who are working inside the buildings. And so you see that also right now with Dexter. But I think we've seen a very large relief as we've gotten to the end of our construction period.
Yeah, between Church and State, the quarter, phase 2, and Dexter, we probably have had, 300 construction workers on site on a daily basis, but that's been dramatically scaled back. So it's not an ongoing issue.
We call it the Ford F-150 parade. Shows up about 6:45 and it leaves about 3 o'clock.
Madam Chair, we also have Liz Kukla with her hand raised.
Okay, Liz.
Madam Chair, the appellant mentioned that there were changes to the site plan, that this is an updated, I guess I should say, they mentioned that this is an updated presentation. Have there been changes to the site plan that need to be bullet pointed here? Because if there's been a change, then we need to have it re-adjudicated by Building and Housing.
If I can address that, the presentation was updated more for the visuals that you saw. The essential concept and the floor areas have not changed, but how they were presented have been. With respect to Building and Housing, may have looked at the site area that was listed, the footprint area of the buildings versus the full gross square footage of each building. The footprint does not always meet 950, but the building with its 2 levels, each building does meet the 950 square feet.
Does that answer your question, Mrs. Kukla?
So it seems that this new presentation will address that square footage, or addresses that square footage then. Addresses that you no longer need the variance for the square footage, if I'm correct.
Are there any others that have been sworn in, Maurice, that need to speak?
I don't believe we had anyone else sworn in.
Okay. We've not heard from the councilman or the local development corporation.
Oh, we do have Mr. Trimble.
Okay. Ben.
He was not sworn in?
Madam Chair, I apologize. I joined late, so I was not sworn in.
He was in Tahiti.
There's a huge time lag here, and time is not reliable here on the beach.
Okay, Ben, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. State your name, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Ben Trimble, Senior Director of Real Estate and Planning for Ohio City Incorporated. As I think both the developer and the architect have intimated, this item has been reviewed by the Franklin Clinton Block Club twice, nearly unanimously supported. I think there might have been an abstention, and maybe one or two folks against. It was overwhelmingly supported. Folks were very excited about sort of the relief that this lower project brings among a lot of activity. This is also reviewed by the Ohio City Design Review Committee as well as the Landmarks Commission, and was approved by both. While this is a very modern design, and this might not work in a lot of other places in our historic district or in our neighborhood, folks did support it in this location because there's a very, very interesting history of mixed use industrial, all sorts of uses in this part of the neighborhood that still exists. And so while this might not work on a lot of our residential streets, people thought it made a lot of sense in this context. So the neighborhood is supportive, and it has been reviewed by all appropriate bodies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben, and enjoy your vacation.
No.
Any other questions, board? No? I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I need to hear from the city of Cleveland. Maurice, are you representing?
Yeah, well, Madam Chair, yes, we support the approval by the Landmarks Commission, so we are in support of this project.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion. Oh, Alana.
Madam Chair, yes, sorry. I just had 3 quick questions. Well, actually 2, no 3, sorry. To the architect, is the first floor window a standard window or is it also the translucent material?
The lower window on the street side, we have a smaller vision window, so you would be able to see the activity that the tenant could control, whether they do or not. But we're hoping that on the base floor street side, that would appeal as almost a shop window to see the activity of the house.
That was what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah.
And as to the HVAC, where is the air conditioning compressor unit on the outside of the building?
Yes, ma'am. They are located on the sides of the building in the landscaping that is shown on the landscaping plan. So they can be seen from the street or from the interior court.
Great. Third question, what is your bike rack capacity now that you've added bike racks?
We've added 2 bike racks, and there's a 4-post and a 6-post.
Okay. Is there any opportunity to add any further ones?
Yes, of course there are. We could add them throughout. We've added them in 2 locations, one on the street side for visitors and one in a more private location for occupants of the village.
Okay, I'm expecting that you're going to have more bike traffic from visitors, so if you can add more, that would be great.
We hope so.
Yes. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Hold on 1 minute. I have a quick question. Is there a back door to these units?
Yes, ma'am. Each unit has a street front and a rear front onto the green commons.
Thank you. Go ahead, Alana. Oops, caught you in the middle of a drink.
You did. Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the testimony and the detailed descriptions by both the architect, the owner, and all parties involved, and the support of the block clubs, the CDC, and the Landmarks and Design and Review Committee, and City Planning, I move that we approve this interesting project that I think will make a nice blend between Ohio City and moving into the Gordon Square area. So I move that we approve calendar number 20-122.
Second.
Call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that is with the understanding that we are only approving items 1, 4, and 5. That's correct, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-122 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we'll send you a letter.
Thank you all for your service.
So
Thank
much.
you.
So much.
Alana, you want to read now?
Yes, sorry, I was muted there for a second. Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-127, 303 Groveland Club Drive, Ruffner, J.A., and Oaks Jr., Donald Stewart, owners propose to build a 16-foot by 20-foot wood frame garage in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinance that is stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Will everyone for this case please raise your right hand? I'm going to read a statement at the end of which I'm looking for you to affirm that statement with the words "I do" in your name. Here we go. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Jay Ruffner. I do. John D'Amico.
I do. Donald Stewart Oaks.
I do. Michael McBride.
Anyone else? It appears not. Let's move it on.
Thank you. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. I didn't find any records in the records room on this property. There were no variances on file. And in the Acela system, I only found that in June of this year, a permit was issued to demolish an existing 14 by 20 foot garage. And that's all that I have.
Thank you very much. The legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the accessory building side yard and rear yard requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the representative speaking for this case?
Well, my name is John D'Amico. Madam Chair, I'm with the Great Garage Company. So I am the contractor, and the homeowners are here as well as the neighbor.
Okay, tell us why you can't.
Well, sure. This is an interesting property where it's unique, the fact that we do have a shared driveway between these two houses, and the houses are back pretty far, where there's hardly any distance between the garage and the house. We're 16 feet away from the steps of that house. And we're also very close to the neighbor's house, as well as their ability to get into their own, the neighbor rather, to be able to get into his garage. So we're just looking to keep the garage in the same location that it has been. And that's all we're to do. So we want to keep it that way so everybody can get their vehicles in and out of the garage. We are looking to firewall that back wall and also the side wall of the garage as well. So those two will be firewalled.
Is it on the same pad that was there?
We are going to put a new foundation in, but the new foundation will go in the exact same location as the old foundation.
Okay. All right, we have others that have we'd like to hear from the owners, one of the owners.
Yes, ma'am. This is Jay Ruffner.
Okay, Jerry. Are you happy with this?
Yes, as Mr. D'Amico said, it's, we bought the house, and
the garage has been there quite a long time, and it needs updated just structurally, but this is really putting it in the same place. In the previous slide that was up, you can kind of see that the garage, the driveway, the shared driveway aims right into the garage back. Yep, there you go. You see the garage in the back there. And this is really the same footprint, and you see you drive straight into the garage. It's a little bit tight back there, so that's really the ideal thing for safety of getting in and out. Whereas the house to the left, that's the neighbors, they go back and go to the left to get in their garage, which is fully behind the house.
Okay, now that's a better look. Thank you. Mr. McBride, you have something to add?
Sure. Chair, I just say that I support this variance. That's my house. We share the driveway. There's my van, my bike rack. They're going to build it in the same spot, and my wife and I totally support the variance to make it happen. It's really the only way to do it.
Is there anybody else who was sworn in? I didn't write their name down if I did. Okay, Maurice, City of Cleveland Planning.
Madam Chair, due to the uniqueness of the two properties and the shared drive, we support the variance. I am a little bit concerned about the 2-inch off of the rear property line. Makes maintenance of the back of the building kind of difficult, but we support this. We support this.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, the testimony and support from the adjacent neighbors as well as city planning. Move we approve the variance as requested for calendar number 20-127.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar number 20-127 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your time.
You're
Alana?
welcome. Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-131 at 4352 West 57th Street. Teofil Dinka, owner, proposes to install approximately 25 linear feet of 6-foot-high fence in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Will everyone for this case raise your right hand? Here we go again. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name?
My name is Teofil Dinka.
Hi, Fred.
Was there another I do there?
Yeah, and I'm his son. I do Dragos Dinka.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
Hearing none, we move on.
Okay, history of the property, please, Mrs. Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records from I found a permit was issued in 1943 to erect a dwelling and a private garage. There are no variances on file for this address and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Thank you very much. Yielding to the Law Department, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the fence requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dinka, tell us exactly why you have to have a 6-foot-high fence.
Because of the neighbor dog. It's a big one, and he did some damaging, on my house. And I talked to the neighbor, and I tried to avoid a conflict between me and my neighbor to go to court. and he agreed, to build that fence to keep the dog away. He damaged the drain, the downspout, the windows. They scratched the coil, it's just metal and scratches, and he trying to, the previous owner, he was trying to build the fence smaller, for let me to have access on my property, but in that way he didn't have access with his car. And I said, you can put on my property the post, but you have to give me access. And he said, in that time, and he said, you can come anytime on your property. But after selling the property, the next neighbor, he got this dog with a serious problem. My wife, she tried to open the window for the fresh air, and the dog was almost to jump inside. He was scared, and since then, we didn't open any windows. So it's a big problem, He agreed, to pay for the damaging, but I said, you pay for the damaging, but if it's nothing to protect my house, again will be destroyed for this dog, because it's a huge one, and he wants to keep the dog. I said, it's only one way to get rid of the dog. He said, no. I like my dog. And his wife is pregnant now, and he said, I like to keep the gate for my kid, to protect my kid. And I said, okay, but how to get to my property? There's no chance. And we measure, to try to be on the code with the extension, because all the fence is already built all around. I need just extension to protect my house, and I can get access from behind to my property, to my windows, and clean them, and to repair the damaging from the dog. And the problem, the driveway is less than 3 feet, what the code require, and I need that one. I have this appeal, to have, it's almost, but it's not exactly what the code requires. So that one I'm asking if you can give me the permission, to build that fence. The neighbor is okay with that. So I can be in a good relationship with him, for not going to court. So.
And we do have a couple of pictures that I don't know if we can share our screen. We can show you the damage that the dog caused, or we have a couple of pictures.
Do we have those, Maurice?
No, we do not have those, and no, we have screen sharing disabled in this session, so no, you can't share screen.
Okay. There's a driveway between the neighbor's house and your house, right?
Right.
Is his gate attached to your house?
Yes.
Did you give him permission for that?
The previous owner, he built this gate. Before I didn't give him a permission. He built the gate smaller, but he was trying to, especially his wife, didn't drive that well, and she cannot pull the car on the driveway. And I said, because, to be in a good relationship with the neighbors, and I said, you can make that extension, what he requested, to have the post on my property to have full access on his driveway. The problem, cancel me any access, on my property. That's another, that I'm trying to build this fence, and I can have access from behind, from the other corner of my house. And I said, I'll be happy with that, just to keep the dog away,
So it's really 7 inches that's different from what the code requires. We have 2.5 feet. So I think the code requires 3 feet, which is off by 7 inches. I think that's the variance.
I think you're off by 11, but it seems to me that you should have put the gate on the other side of the house.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to the appellant, Mr. Dinko,
Yes.
do you have any sort of formal written document legal document between you and the previous neighbor that built the gates and the fence posts and put them on your property?
No, I said, look, because he said that he got a daughter with this small kid, and I said maybe in time I'm gonna change my mind and maybe you have to remove this thing, and I didn't sign any documents. I said I let you because he was a nice neighbor. We got good relationship between us. He visited us, I visited them, and because this relationship so close, I said just verbal. You can build
Right.
this one, but no, I don't sign anything.
So just a gentleman's agreement, if you will, that you had with the previous neighbor, but that neighbor has moved on, correct?
Yes, he moved out. And
Okay.
was another thing, after he said all those things, to build that gate and everything, and two months later, he sold the house. And I get tricked, I was so upset, I let him to help him out, and then he used me to get better price for the house, and he just sold the house and moved out and done. And I got screwed up, with this no access on my property and damaged the house now. So I try to do in a such way I don't like to go to court or, I like to be good relation. I have the other neighbor, good relation. This neighbor is still a good guy, so I don't like to have conflict, between. This is I accepted everything,
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, we have Ms. Kukla with her hand raised.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to get back to the issue, the code requires 36 feet from his own house. I'm sorry, no, 36 inches from his own house, and he is providing 25 inches from his own house. Just to circle back to the only issue that we're really looking at is that the fence will be 25 inches off of his own property as opposed to the 36 that's required.
Well, he doesn't have 36 inches. He only has 34.
Right.
I can gain a little bit more because what's happening, the fence, the nice side of the fence was towards my house, and I can gain another inches by building the nice part of the fence towards him, and that way it will be less inches, for not being on the code.
So you're adding another 4 inches, so you're.
Yes, I can add. Yes, I can add another 40. I don't care about that. I can put on his property the nice fence, and it will be less inches.
You can't put it.
By the way, that is code for the city, so you installed the fence wrong if the way you're describing it.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. He is permitted to put the fence on his property line. The
I
code
know, but
allows him to put his fence on the property line.
But the good side of the fence has to be oriented toward the neighbor, not toward you.
Correct.
So what he's
That is
describing.
correct.
Yeah. So what he's describing now is putting it in the way the code should have read. Nobody caught that, I guess. It's an inelegant answer no matter what, in my mind. It's a terrible answer, but if this guy wants to do it, he's a nice guy. He's very nice. He's super nice. Let him give his neighbor what he wants.
All right, thank you.
Oh, man. What's the 4x4 at the north, well, I don't know, the far end, the fence facing my home? What is that 4x4?
That's another post, I believe, Madam Chair.
Oh, it's a post. Okay, thank you.
That's where he should have had the gates, right there.
Yeah,
He wouldn't
exactly.
have needed all the other stuff that he put in there. And the guy would still have his backyard fenced in. So I don't know. Maybe we should do you a favor and tell you you can't do it. And you should back that gate up. And it would be a better answer and you wouldn't have to live with the headaches the rest of your life.
Well, this guy loves
Agree
his
with
dog
Tim
and
on
his
that
kid.
point.
Why doesn't he put a fence up? The owner with the dog and all. Oh, man, I don't know.
I don't know. Is he paying for it? Is the neighbor paying for this fence?
No, the previous owner built the fence, and he built it. He built all the fence, everything. You know, I didn't.
But the new one, you're paying for it. What you're trying to build, you're paying materials.
But by myself.
Yeah.
Because you know, I told him, and was so, and he didn't say that much. You know, to maybe he's gonna pay me at the end or something. But I said.
No.
To protect my house, I pay for the permit, I pay one fee, I pay the second fee, and I pay another fee for appeal, and I pay myself for the material from Home Depot, and now always when the guy who is with the damaging, he has to pay to protect his house. He's not that really interested.
Can you go and buy a bigger?
Tree.
Can you go out and buy a bigger dog?
Nice try, Jim.
Yeah.
Bart, how do you feel? Well, if he could,
I feel like the neighbor's gate is not where it should be in the first place.
I know, but you know, we have to do. I'm trying to avoid that conflict. You know, I like to make him happy because he. Yeah, I said. I said one time I was upset, and I said, you know what? I'm going to destroy this gate from the front, and you have to do whatever close. He said, no, my daughter is coming. The kid, my wife is pregnant. Don't do that. Don't do that. I need privacy for my kid. Exactly what the other guy said. And I said, I understand that, but my property has been damaged, and I like to be in the correct way. But I don't know. It's sometimes, you know, it's still not working how I like it, you know.
You're too easy, man. You're getting pushed around there.
Right. They have taken advantage of you a little bit, I feel.
Yes, exactly what I feel, you know, but the life, you know, is short. You know, I'm 68, so I don't like to argue with the neighbors and stuff, you know. I like to make them happy too, you know. If he's agree with that.
I know, but we don't have that kind of sentimentality here.
All right.
We are people that just
whatever.
We're looking at this saying like the people that are getting manipulated and screwed isn't your neighbor,
Right.
it's you.
Right.
Right. But the problem was the previous owner because he was lying to me. You know, he said to.
well, we
to
can't
build
do anything about the previous.
Yes, the previous. But he 2 months down the road when I agreed to build this, and he built the gate. In 2 months, sold the house and done. What I can do, you know, if you can, for me, I'd be happy, you know, for. I can tell you why I agree with this thing, you know, to build that fence. Twice, you know, I have somebody came with a dive bar or something and tried to break in my house because it was free in here, no gate. And I've seen the scratches and the damage on the window. They tried to break in the nighttime. When the guy he said to build the fence, I said, by building the fence, I can protect my windows from intruders. And that one, you know, to tell you exactly why I accepted that, because I was afraid twice, you know, in the nighttime to hear somebody with try to open the window was not that simple, you know.
Oh.
So that's the whole story, you know.
I would just say put that 8-foot fence up right on your property line and take down that thing. You can't be responsible for his new baby and all. What if he sells the house?
Right, right,
Once more, you're screwed again. Yeah.
right. And I fear that the neighbor's dog is going to destroy the fence if the neighbor's dog is that.
No, it cannot
poorly
do nothing
trained.
on the fence. The fence, it's okay, you know, because this fence on the other side of the house, and he cannot. He tried to jump. He's so big, you know. It's an 8-foot fence,
right?
And I seen his head, you know. And
right.
What's happening because of the ground was lower to the end of the property, and instead to be 8 foot high was like 6, and he tried to jump. And I said, I'm going to put some barbed wire, you know, or put to keep the
You're not allowed to put barbed wire.
No, you're not allowed.
You can't
No,
do
I'm
that.
not allowed.
No.
You see.
I think we're just leading you into the wrong path there, pal. We need to get rid of that fence, move the gate back. You can have your property.
Yes.
Little daughter shouldn't play in a concrete driveway anyway. She should be on the grass.
Thank you, Tim. Okay. Are you ready to make a motion?
Well, I guess the motion would be we deny the request.
Yeah, that's for me. I'll be happy, you know. It's it's simple.
With instructions to take the fence, move the gate to the back of the yard.
Make the proper correction.
No.
And he said he doesn't want to do that because it's going to form a bad relationship.
Yeah. Right.
You got to remove all the stuff on this guy's property.
Trying to be nice to this guy, you know.
That's going to cause a lot of animosity between with the neighbor.
We'll give him your name, Alana.
And
Thanks,
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the appellant does not have the ability to meet the code, as he only has 34 inches in that side yard.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you want to deny it.
Well, he's asking for a variance so he doesn't have to meet the code. We're saying no. It'd be hard to maintain a fence that's 25 inches away from your house, too.
I know about the conflict with the neighbors. Because I know this morning I took some trash out to the bin, and there was a box laying at the curb in front of our house of Patron liquor, and I know that guy over there drinks Patron. And the other night when he was
What case?
Do we
is
have?
What case is this? Yeah, this is not. And we move on.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of a motion here, man. I think.
Please mute your microphone if this is not your case. To the person calling in.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we would deny the requested variances. Does anybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
No?
Sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll second that so we can keep here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get a vote anyway.
Ready for me to call the roll, Madam
Yeah,
Chair?
I said call the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes, we're going to have to do it.
Ms. Britt,
Yeah, the preference is to keep the fence, you know.
Build it.
To
It's
build.
not our
To build.
preference.
It's the length is not that long, you know. It's expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the fence is built.
We're in the middle of a roll call here. Come on. Stick with it, Liz.
so we have Ms. Barnes, Ms. Faith, Ms. Britt. Have we heard
Yes.
from Ms.
Yes.
Faith? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Ms. Faith said yes. Mr. Donovan,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar 20-131 is denied. We'll ratify this case next week and send you a letter.
Tell your neighbor to get his fence out of there.
Okay, calendar, go ahead, Alana, 20-132.
Madam
you,
Chair,
Yes. Go ahead, Liz.
in the interest of time, because I know Ms. Britt has to leave by noon today, perhaps we should take the Triscuit Avenue case. Councilman Slife is still on the call as well.
Hit it.
That's number 20-130.
Yes.
You want to go with that, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have Councilman on the call.
Yes.
Calendar number 20-130 at 15225 Triscuit Avenue. Family Video Movie Club, Inc. owner proposes to establish outpatient drug and alcohol treatment center in a C1 local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand and respond to my written statement with the words I do. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. Name? Name?
Matthew Yorkovich.
I do. Chad Smith.
Okay. Any others?
I do. Rosemary Moudry, West Park Cams.
Okay.
I do. I do. Dan Musson, resident of Warren Road, 3717.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do.
Ross.
Resident.
And Councilman?
Councilman, are you still here?
I was muted. Classic move. Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I do. Ross Patello.
Okay. Anyone else? Here's we got.
I do, Susan Stefano.
No, I guess not.
I do,
else?
Nicholas Haddad.
Okay. Got a lot of I do's. Okay.
All right, history of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 1950, it was changed to local retail. 1951, it was changed to multifamily. And then 1961, it was changed back to general retail. And then in 2004, it was placed in the local retail business district again. Madam Chair, I think the most pertinent information here is that in calendar 03-275, this board granted a variance to construct a video rental store with parking. And then we see, Madam Chair, in 2004, that permit was issued. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. The legal standard, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship, particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's the representative of Family Video?
I'm Matthew Yorkovich. I'm the representative of Brightview LLC, which is the tenant at the property.
Okay. Tell us exactly what they'd like to do.
Yeah, what they'd like to do is establish a doctor's office at the location. They spent a considerable amount of time identifying this as the most viable and appropriate location for them. Our concern is that the interpretation of the code is being performed in such a way that, based on the character of the clientele that they serve, that it could offend the American with Disabilities Act. So everybody talks about outpatient drug and alcohol treatment. What this is really is a doctor's office, and should be permitted in the code because of that. You'll see in our appeals statement, we requested at least a reasonable accommodation under the code and the strict application of the code, because of those concerns about the violation of the American with Disabilities Act. It's not the actual fact that we have doctors working here or professionals, which would be permitted under the code. It's the fact that the code is construing us as a mental health center, which is an institution. We know that the code demonstrates that institutions, the purpose of those in an institutional research district is for large scale developments. This is a small doctor's office. And so we feel that it's inappropriate to construe us as, an institutional mental health center, which is typically more akin to a public institution, a university, a hospital, something along those lines. The very fact that we're being required to go through, a strict variance process, subjecting us to community scrutiny, the fear of the community, concerns about increased crime, property values, things like that, are the reason that the American with Disabilities Act was created to avoid discrimination. And as I said, we really operate as a doctor's office. We do provide drug and alcohol treatment. We do provide outpatient therapy. But the character and our association with individuals that have disabilities should not force and subject us to greater scrutiny under the code. What will demonstrate is that in all of the locations that Brightview has, 24 locations in all, we don't have issues with crime. We don't have issues with the individuals getting services from Brightview causing problems in the community. You'll see a letter of support in the file from Daniel Malloy, Corrigan Township. He's a chief of police and director of public safety. He presented also to the community during the community meeting about the professionalism and the benefits that Brightview locating in their community has had, notwithstanding the initial public scrutiny and concerns and fears about the condition or character of their clientele. You'll also see a letter of support for Dr. David Stream, MD, the Cleveland Clinic at Lutheran Hospital, demonstrating the tremendous need for this type of service in our community. As I said, my position is that, any other doctor's office would not be facing this sort of scrutiny. Mental health providers, therapists wouldn't be facing this sort of scrutiny. We're being categorized in a manner that's for purposes of large scale institutional development and making the variance of hardship requirements is a little unique, because what is demonstrated by the board in the past is that what you really need is the Community Development Corporation support and the Council-matic support to obtain the variance. And this board has approved what they've construed as community mental health centers or drug and alcohol treatment centers. They've approved that in a local retail district before, calendar number 16-022 for the property at 5162 Broadway. That's a property that was recently zoned local retail, and shortly after that was provided a variance with the support of the CDC and the council person for that area. Also, the property at 3000 Euclid Avenue and calendar number 19-257 was granted a variance for what the zoning administrator construed as a drug and alcohol treatment center, and was provided in either a local retail or a general retail district. So really, we can present the details of Brightview's program, the clientele that Brightview serves. Like I said, those individuals are identified under the American Disabilities Act as being and having a disability. And so we have for Brightview, Mike DiMaggio, Chad Smith, Dylan Jackson, and Sean Ryan that are available on the line as well. And we are open to answer any questions. My client would be happy to engage in a dialogue about, community benefits agreements or a good neighbor agreement. Unfortunately, we did present our proposed use to the community, and were quickly informed that, could not be supported because of concerns from the neighbors about increased crime, reduced property values, things like that, rumors or fears about the character of the type of clientele we would be serving. As I said, we have entered into and executed a lease with the owner of the property. We have made, plans and submitted plans for just the interior renovations of the property. The exterior of the property will be maintained in the same character that is presently, minus, Brightview's branded sign, changing the family video sign. And from all visual intents and purposes, this will look and be a doctor's office. And so the property having previously required a zoning variance, even to operate as a video store, which wasn't permitted in the district, having operated a video store there, now the neighborhood feels very passionately about, that access to a video store. But I would say that, the requirement of a variance in this circumstance subjects us to the scrutiny, the fears, the animus of the community about the character of our clientele.
Matthew, excuse me, are you distributing drugs in this facility? Would you be distributing drugs at this facility?
There's a possibility that we would have a pharmacy attached to the facility. I don't believe that that we've received approval for that yet. But yeah, it's typical in the doctor's offices that we have that we would prescribe medication, and medication would be part of the treatment modality. I can let Brightview individuals speak more specifically as it relates to those things.
Mr. Campbell, I'd like to hear from you.
Mr. Campbell didn't swear in. Rosemary Moudry from West Park CAMS swore in as the executive director.
Okay, Rosemary.
So I appreciate Matthew and the Brightview's team engaging in the community process with us. I think for us, it really boils down to, this was a node that in a really all residential area is the only commercial node that really serves as a walkable area for these residents. And as stated by Brightview, there was hesitancy by the community to grant a variance for a family video. But when they realized it was a use that was universal to the neighborhood, that immediately served the residents in the area, they became more comfortable with it. I think from West Park CAM's perspective, what we have heard from the neighborhood residents is that they want a business that serves the purpose and intent of local retail. And for us, local retail is a use that primarily serves residents within a 1/4 to 1 mile radius. And I think our only position on this is that this is not a neighborhood use. This is a regional use that will attract folks from a great distance and should be located on a commercial corridor on Lorraine Avenue or something like that, or on West 150th south of Lorraine. So for us, this purely boils down to the issue of it being a local retail district that should be serving the folks surrounding the business and should not be a regional center where people are driving from 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes to come to this because it's such a specialized use.
If I could address some of those things. As you're looking at the map, you see the highlighted location at Triscuit. Adjacent to that, you have a gas station, which would be permitted in a local retail district. Right down the street, you have a funeral home that wouldn't be permitted in a local retail district. While you say that this is an area for local retail, we do have a Verizon store and a flower shop. And as I said, this should be permitted in a general retail, as it is, just a doctor's office. The only thing that's unique about it from any other doctor's office, dentist office, chiropractic, or other, professional office that should be permitted in a local retail district is the character and association with patients who may have a mental health diagnosis or a drug and alcohol abuse disability. And so I just want to really focus on that this is not the shopping center district. This is a highly trafficked commercial corridor, at least as it relates to these 4 points on the street. And I'd really like for Mike DiMaggio to speak about the regional use of the location. They've specifically picked this location not only because of its viability for their proposed offices, but because of their identified statistical need in this area. And while we can say that none of the individuals in this area need drug or alcohol treatment or need mental health services, I believe that that's a misnomer, and we're not accurately getting a representative population of the community or the neighborhood.
Madam Chair, excuse me.
Yes.
To the appellant's representative, you were not recognized by the chair to speak. So please remain in order. We have a number of people that need to make comments. And so please stay in order and we will get back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ilana. Okay, who else is on our list, Maurice? Well, let's hear from Charles, like the councilman. I want to hear from the representative of all these neighbors. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, I appreciate the opportunity to speak because, I really want to build off of a lot of what Rosemary said and provide some clarification. I've received communications from, well over 100 residents, and many of them I've had long, elaborate conversations talking about this because, look, I think we all recognize that, our society is being challenged by drug addiction, and that people who are overcoming that illness, are deserving of high quality care. That's not in question here. What's in question here is what Rosemary was saying, is this something that is appropriate in a local retail district? And the legal standard that this is being put up against is, does the granting of the variance, it says that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Certainly there's going to be times where there's a proposed use that isn't allowed by right in a local retail district. However, we can determine if that use really meets the intent of the zoning code. It's something that is used locally. I want to bring up that the local retail district is defined in our code as containing uses that are normally required for the daily local retail business needs of the residents of the locality only. So to us, to the residents, what this comes down to is, this is a overwhelmingly residential street. Yes, it's a high traffic street, and I wish that people didn't go so fast cutting between interstates, but Warren Road and Triscuit Road are residential streets, and this is a small node. And yes, there's a gas station, but people can quickly get gas before they go to work, or people can buy flowers. And unlike a general practitioner or a dental office, the specialization of this use effectively limits the ability for anyone in the neighborhood to use it at will. On August 4th, Rosemary mentioned that we did have a community meeting, and they were pretty explicit about their business model, which seems to be working very well throughout Ohio and Kentucky. And this isn't an indictment of the company itself, but their model is to bring in patrons from a 20-minute drive. Most people drive, so there's no real value on being on a transit corridor, they said. They noted that they prefer leasing medical space because it's easier to pivot their use into it. But in the absence of that, they've identified video stores as being an easy renovation. They already have an operation in Springfield, Ohio, that is in a former video store. And they seem to suggest that if a conversion at this location were to go well, that future video stores, could be under consideration for them. To me, this is a portfolio real estate play. And this is an example of someone not doing their homework and realizing that there were zoning issues with a location that would be easy to renovate. So, I really push back against the idea that this is some kind of NIMBYism. When the neighborhood, quite frankly, struggles and says, we feel like there's a use for this potentially in the neighborhood, but it's just not in this specific location. I drove down last weekend to Akron and Canton, where there are Brightview facilities. The one in Akron is in the North Hill neighborhood. I'd say that it's comparable to being on Lorraine Avenue. It's a very busy North Main Street, a very busy street. There's residential nearby, but it's unbroken commercial uses along the entire corridor. And then in Stark County, the location it's in an unincorporated area on a 4-lane highway and with no sidewalks. So to me, those two locations just simply aren't comparable here. To me, there's no compelling reason why this specific hyper specific location is the only place that this business can operate. And to me, that's the standard. And that whether this is a mile away or 5 miles away, there's still an ability to bring people in and to serve the general clientele that's driving in from 20, 30 minutes away, what have you. Now, look, I'll be honest. Like there are some residents who have expressed some concerns about crime, and when I went down to Akron and Canton, I made a point of walking around and talking to residents just to get a general sense of how they feel the operation coexists with them. I didn't hear anything that was hair-raising. Certainly, a lot of cigarette butts that could be cleaned up out of flower beds, but there was no direct indication that this is a concern for the neighborhood in that respect. To me, it's a much more narrow question. Is this a local retail use? And I don't believe that it is. And for that reason, I can't support the granting of this variance. I think that Brightview probably needs to go back to the drawing board and find a location that is just better suited for this kind of use.
Thank you, Councilman.
Madam Chair, I would suggest to anybody that would like to make a comment to please use the raise hand feature, and we can call on them as they raise their hands.
Thank you. I know there were some residents that
Looks like Daniel Musson is using his literal hand.
Yeah,
In this day and age, I don't know if that's allowed, but go ahead, Mr. Musson.
I can't find the button. I apologize. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I just wanted to mirror what the councilman's comments about this being a residential neighborhood, and point out that the variances granted by the board that Mr. Yurkovich pointed out were on Euclid Avenue and Broadway. Those are both very commercial streets. Warren Road, Triscuit Road are not at all similar. Basically, I guess my question was, if Family Video is the building owner, is the applicant, it seems like I see no evidence that they've done any due diligence to find alternate tenants, that this is just sort of the first convenient thing that came their way. So I can't see how we can say that it's economically infeasible for them to, I guess, proceed with renting the property if all we're hearing from is an applicant who wants to move in. So yeah, I guess basically, mirroring what the councilman said, it's a residential area. I see no evidence or reason to support this. So that's all.
Thank you very much,
Madam Chair, we had Nicholas Haddad had his hand raised earlier. Did you want to make a comment, sir?
Nicholas, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Do you see me now?
No.
But you hear
No.
me even better.
We can hear you.
There
That's
you go.
enough.
Now
We
we
can
got
see
you.
you now. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Nicholas Haddad. I'm a resident of this neighborhood. I've lived here my entire life. I'm 29 years old. I'm a criminal defense attorney. Throughout my work and as a demographic of a 29-year-old member of Cleveland, I'm in contact with drug addicts every day. The reality of this business model, an outpatient rehab center, is going to result in many, many transient individuals coming from far distances to receive treatment services here. That's not what this neighborhood wants or needs, and it's not what this area is zoned to provide. many of these patients most likely will be referred to by court systems. There's no control of how far or where these people will be coming from and how they'll be traveling and how they'll be getting home. The danger to this neighborhood is not what anybody here wants or desires. I'd like to voice my opposition to the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DiBello, are you here for this case?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, let's hear from you.
Oh, I just wanted to hear the arguments. I don't want to put forth an objection or anything like. I guess I have greater concerns on a meta level, like if it were to go in the parking lot, and this doesn't have to do with family video and that ownership, but if it went by one of the two hospitals, Popeye's parking lot, like that, like where could one of these go if not, and I'm a resident. I walk my dog in the family video parking lot pretty much every day. And I get it. I think that my neighbors are right. I think it's a more residential area than a commercial area. So I think family videos probably maybe should be out of luck, but the community at large certainly, we have drug concerns and that need to be had. But I don't opine on this particular instance.
Thank you very much. Somebody named Maggio, MD Maggio, DiMaggio? I don't think he's a baseball player, do you?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a reminder, this is Liz Kukla. Just a reminder, we generally ask for the addresses of the speakers, just to know how close they are to the property.
Oh, that's right. They don't have a sign-in sheet. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was 15022 Mirrormead Drive.
Who was that?
That was Ross DiBello.
Okay.
Nicholas Haddad of 3714 Warren Road.
Okay.
3717 Warren Road.
Okay. Now, do we have somebody named DiMaggio that wants to speak? How about Susan Stefanoff?
Yes, I'm Susan Stefanoff, and I am the
Where do you
owner
live,
of.
Susan? What's your address?
I own the property 3714 Warren Road. I previously also owned 728 Warren Road, and sold it to a lovely young couple who were excited to make the West Park area their home. I am opposed to the property. As an attorney, I agree with Nicholas Haddad and some of the statements that he made regarding court referrals to drug treatment centers. I think that it's a little disingenuous to refer to this the same as a physician's office. I think that characteristic is not the same. And I also believe that there are plenty of areas in the West Park neighborhood, such as the Lorraine Road area, where there would be a plethora of space available that would fit the character and usage of what they're planning, trying to propose for this. And I also don't believe that it meets the legal standard necessary to grant this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anybody else, Maurice, that
I have nobody else with their hands raised at this point.
Board questions?
Oh, wait a minute, I take that back. Now, Mr. DiMaggio, or I don't know what the first name is, would like to speak?
Okay, good.
I'm sorry, that was Chad Smith, right? Yes,
Yes.
okay. Yes, sorry.
Using Mr. DiMaggio's computer. No, I would just like to thank everyone for the opportunity today to review, I think, to some of the questions at hand, of course.
Excuse me, just one quick minute. The chairman needs to know your name and your where you live. Yes, home address.
Chad Smith, 6126 Kaywood Drive, and that's in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, Chad. I'm sorry. Now go ahead.
And I believe I swore in, so I should
Yes,
be.
it did.
Okay. Yeah, I think appreciate the opportunity today, and obviously have had a more in-depth conversation with many of the community members listed here today. I can't specifically comment on other applicabilities of the property as represents simply a proposed tenant, not the landholder. We have, been working with a number of members of the community, including those folks who wrote letters of support to find alternative locations as well. So to an earlier question around other alternative locations surrounding this property or on other main thoroughfares, I think we continue to be open and have, requested any opportunities for those. I think there was a point earlier about our comfort with converting a property as such. We are under some physical constraints, and not every, property is feasible to turn into an outpatient center. I would, echo a lot of the sentiments we've shared before, and I appreciate the folks who have visited other Brightview properties. We do operate, north of 20 of them now. I was one of the co-founders of the company and proud that we have yet to see any major issues, once we're inside of a neighborhood as it relates to crime, loitering. I'm an attorney by trade. I entered this space after working in common pleas court and serving as a law clerk in one of the first drug courts in Southwest Ohio. So I appreciate the sentiment or the concern there relative to, where patients come from, et cetera. We did try to include a slide in the presentation as well that talked about sort of the concentration of patients we typically see. We do have patients driving to our center and commuting, but a lot of our patients are, neighborhood adjacent patients as well. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity to potentially bring these services to this part of Cleveland. I think, we're most proud of some of the letters of support that we got from Dan Malloy, who was the chief of police and township administrator of our second location and continues to be a supporter of Brightview, and also an opportunity to work with groups like the Cleveland Clinic and others who, we have a good relationship with. So nothing else to add from my perspective. I think those things have been covered. Appreciate the community giving us their feedback and look forward to working with Cleveland as a greater whole.
Madam Chair, we had Rosemary wanted to make another comment, and then we also have the neighborhood planner, Adam Davenport, with the city's recommendation.
Okay, let's do Rosemary first and then Adam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate one more minute to talk. I want to reinforce that, for an operation the size of Brightview, Family Dollar was operating until they signed a lease, and the representatives from Family Dollar informed us that they were just able to make more money off of leasing it to somebody else than to continue to operate it themselves. So I think, one, it demonstrates that there is a potential other viable economic use for this space. And two, I think it also shows that they signed a lease without doing their due diligence, which if this was a small operation might be understandable. But for someone who has 20 locations, it is surprising to me that they would not have looked into the zoning or done a zoning request prior to signing a lease. And so it now feels like they have to move forward with this property because they have already signed the lease. And obviously that's just speculation, but I think that that's an important thing to note. And I think it's also important to note that both the councilman and CDC office do look forward to continuing to work with Brightview regardless of whether or not this is approved. We do feel that there are challenges in every community, and West Park is no different than anywhere else. There are obviously some residents in our neighborhood that would need a treatment facility like this, and we would like to find the right place in our neighborhood for them. We just do not believe this corner is the right spot.
Thank you, Rosemary. Adam Davenport, City of Cleveland planner.
Good morning. I joined late to this case, so I will need to be sworn in as well.
Tim?
All right, raise your right hand, Anna. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. To the board, so city planning reviewed this. We've had conversations with the applicants as well. To us at city planning, this is definitely more of a what I would classify as a general retail use, not meant for local retail, given the regional nature of the treatment center itself. I'm happy to hear that the council person and the CDC are both in support of keeping this need in the neighborhood. I do also think that it is needed, and that the business model, I don't doubt statistically proves that there is a locational need for this. However, I do think it is more suited on a more regional traffic corridor for commercial use, such as Lorraine Avenue. I mean, it seems like it could have more synergy with Cleveland Clinic that way, or with nearer to different transportation systems like 71 or 480, being that they do draw people all over from the region. I think our zoning code is pretty explicit in not allowing this in local retail, and I definitely agree with that. And would look to continue to have conversations with the applicant about citing them elsewhere in the neighborhood for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Board questions?
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Yokovich would like to make some closing points.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam. I would just like to address some of those points. Everybody says that this is just not the right location. During all of our communications with the community and the city, we've asked for additional proposed locations. After about a month or two of waiting on those proposed locations, the only two locations we were provided were industrial uses that were neither for lease or for sale, and that would continue to extend the delay for us opening and operating a facility at this time. I think we would be able to demonstrate for the record that as early as May, the neighborhood and Rosemary and Ben Campbell had concerns about Brightview's proposed lease. I believe that was before they even ever applied for an application for a building permit. So there is a great deal of animus and concern in the community about locating a facility for drug and alcohol patients, which, as I said before and will repeat, that I believe is a discriminatory purpose. I don't believe that the intent of the zoning code is to be discriminatory. But when you say that a hospital could be permitted in a multifamily district, but not if that hospital attends to drug or alcohol patients, I believe that that has a potential discriminatory effect. I would also say that everybody keeps saying that this is a residential neighborhood, and I will remind them that this property has historically been zoned general retail. And as Adam just stated, that he believes this is a more general retail use, and that the variance granted and obtained by Family Video was for a general retail use. So the only thing keeping this out of a local retail or a general retail use is the character of the patients that this doctor's office serves. And, as we mentioned before, they have sought requests for additional locations. No additional locations are provided. So everybody says that this is a not in my backyard. We'd love for this to be located somewhere on Lorraine, but based on the way that the code is drafted, we believe that a reasonable accommodation for the code or a change to the code is required as it applies to us, because we're providing services to individuals with disabilities. And so to say that, hey, anywhere, go somewhere else, all of those other places, based on the way that code is being interpreted in this situation, would require an institutional research or a variance or a rezoning by city council, which would again subject us to the community process and the scrutiny and the fears and the concerns about that, Attorney Haddad had and Attorney Stepanoff had about increased crime and about the character of the potential patients of this facility. And so when we talk about whether or not this variance is in the spirit or purpose of the code, I would ask, does this board believe that the spirit or purpose of the code is to discriminate against individuals that have a disability, that have a drug or alcohol addiction, or that have a mental health diagnosis, and that are seeking therapy or treatment from a doctor in their community?
No, I don't think that at all, Mr. Yurvitz. I think that there's a definite need out there. It's just location, location, location. And I think that the councilman who represents the neighbors, who's voted into that position, is definitely the voice of the neighborhood, along with the planner, Adam, and Rosemary from the Local Development Corporation. That's my only comment. Was there somebody else that needed to speak, Maurice?
I have nobody else with their hands raised at the moment, Madam Chair.
If not, if the board has any other questions, if not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the testimony, and I would just like to add on what you said. I don't think that any decision we make here will be because we are discriminating against a certain population. I think the councilman, the CDC, as well as the city planner for the area has made the case that all uses are not for all areas, and that's why we have BZA, so that that appellants could come here and try to make the case to whether their use is allowed or not, and we have to listen to the case and weigh accordingly. So, with that being said, I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 20-130.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a second on that, but I'd like to shed a little light on the two variances that we did give out to similar cases that were mentioned here, one on Broadway, one on Euclid Avenue. We always tell people that, although there certainly is always the shadow of precedent that we have to be mindful of when we do cases like this, we also treat each case individually, because each case tells a different story. And if you got into the stories of those two cases where the variance was granted, you'd find a long history there of people working together, trying to solve problems and try to solve them in a way that does no harm, as they say in the medical community. And I think in those two cases, that is why we granted the variances. In this case here, you obviously have a story of a community reacting against the use for a number of reasons. We've heard them all here today. We won't go over them. But I mean, there are legitimate reasons on both sides. And I would hope that the appellant continues to work with the city in terms of trying to find a suitable location, one that serves their client needs, but also one that does good for the neighborhood that they're in. So
Madam,
I would give it a vote for a second. This is not open for discussion.
Madam Chair, may I ask a point of clarification? This is Councilman Slade. My internet skipped. Was the motion to approve or disapprove?
Motion is to disapprove. Not
Ready for the roll, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Ms. Faith?
I'm voting to disapprove, yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Approve, Ms. Barnes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Britt? Ms. Britt?
Well, she made the motion.
And Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-130 is denied. It'll be ratified next week, and we'll send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your input. Calendar 20-131 at 4352 West 57. Oh, no, we did that already. Hello, never mind.
Back to the East 65th cases.
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. We're at calendar number 20-133 at 1485 East 65th Street. Frontline Development owner proposes to erect a two-story frame single-family residence with attached garage in a B1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Everyone for this case, please raise your right hand.
Madam Chair, could I interject here? We skipped over calendar number 2132. I believe they both should be read together.
Well, she said 133, but I think she meant 132. I was going to say.
Yeah, she needs to include 132.
I read number, thank you, Lori, Ms. Wagner. I read 132. I will read 20-133 since we're hearing them together. Calendar number 20-133 at 1489 East 65th Street. Frontline Development owner proposes to erect a two-story single-family residence with an attached garage in a B1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record. So that's case number 20-132 and case number 20-133 at 1485 East 65th Street and 1489 East 65th Street.
Thank you very much. Yes. Tim?
Anyone for these two cases that is going to give testimony, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Dan Bickerstaff.
I do. Kevin Olin.
I do. Robin Walton.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do. Susan McNear.
All right. Anybody else? We've come to the end.
Thank you. History of the properties, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thanks, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning. For both of the addresses, there's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records room, I found only for the address of 1485 that there was a permit issued in 1973 to demolish a 4-family dwelling unit on the site. And for the address of 1489 in 1909, a permit was issued to erect a 2-story dwelling. And then in 1965, a permit was issued to demolish a multifamily dwelling at that site. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Thank you very much. The legal standard we'll be judging them on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Okay. Madam Chair, thank you. Members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, minimum lot width, minimum side yard encroachment, and fence requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the spokesperson for Frontline Development?
I will, Madam Chair.
And you are?
Dan Bickerstaff.
Hello, Dan Bickerstaff.
How are you?
We're good. Is the football player named Bickerstaff also related?
Or basketball.
Oh, got one in each? God bless you. Okay, let's hear what we're going to do on East 65th.
Okay, well, good morning, Madam Chair and Commission members. You know, obviously, I'm Dan Bickerstaff, founder and principal architect with Ubiquitous Design. And Mr. Kevin Olin is on with us. He's representing the owners of Frontline Development. We're here today to present 2 of 6 new dwellings that comprise phase 1 of a very exciting and comprehensive development on Cleveland's east side, located between East 65th Street and East 66th. I'm the architect working on the Cleveland Foundation project as well as with the Cleveland Public Library project. I grew up in this neighborhood, so I have a very unique perspective as to the current developments and the history of this location. With regard to our presentation, Maurice, I'm not sure why we're on this particular page, but we can just proceed. Go back. It was the project that I wanted to present initially, but never mind. This project illustrates a rendering of our smaller of the two homes. This is a 1,800 square foot property. If you look at the project location, you'll see we're locating the residential dwellings on East 65th Street to front East 65th, while also having vehicular access for the garages along East 65th Place, which is an existing alley. Next. This slide gives you some context imagery. As you can see, we're not too far from League Park, as well as the projects that I mentioned. The new Huff branch for CPL is being developed for the intersection of East 65th and Huff. If you start from the lower portion of the photographs and move upward, you'll see the sequential relationship relative and focusing on our site location. So we start with photo 1.0 looking north and proceed. You'll see our project site is to the right. There's an existing open field. And then the image 4.0 is a 2-story multifamily residential structure that serves as the northern border of our project site. In terms of the south-facing imagery, again, our site would be located on the left, just beyond that 2-story structure in image 2.0 and the open space in 3.0. Next. This is the current configuration of the properties. You can see we had to consolidate and subdivide the properties in order to achieve our objectives for the 6 new homes. Next. And given that subdivision, you see we ended up with 38 feet 4 inches for each property, which is a skosh less than 40 feet. The residence that we're currently reviewing is to the north. It's a 2-story wood frame dwelling with attached garage, and is smaller than the 2,200 square foot, which is directly to the south in this particular site plan. Next. Basically, it's, Madam Chair, we obviously place a premium on design in all of our architectural solutions. We created a traditional porch, which is compatible with the neighboring homes in the existing or immediate context. A large open floor plan with the family room, kitchen, and we actually included a bedroom on the first floor as well. Circulations to the north, 2-car garage and driveway, which is accessed from the alleyway. Next. Second floor, pretty straightforward in terms of Cleveland architecture, but we created a master suite to the west facing the East 65th Street with the 2 additional bedrooms on the rear of the house. And there's a master bath, walk-in closet for the master. Next. This is a drawing that really speaks to the square foot issues that were identified by the plan examiner. Basically, our first and second floor, we are in compliance with regard to square footage relative to the site, exceeding 50% of the site. We want to be transparent, and we indicated to Mr. Rodney Wells that there's a possibility of us finishing the lower level So that pushed us over the square footage, the minimum square footage for the property. And as you all know, owners typically don't finish their lower levels in the outset of the design process and construction process. So they will be looking toward finishing this basement at a later date, but we wanted to be transparent and indicate that this is a possibility. And that's one of the variances we need for this particular project, to be able to finish this basement legally. Next. And you can just cycle through these because these are more construction documents of the design documents that I illustrated.
Where's the condenser?
Go ahead.
Where's the condenser, Dan? It's on the side of the house?
Yeah. Yes, correct. You can back up. Our condenser that we specified is 29 by 29 inches. And you can see there's a small setback relative where the house and garage intersect to the south. And that's a 2'8" dimension. So it fits comfortably in that space without encroaching. So that's a variance we do not need.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, you can proceed, Maurice, through these. These are the construction documents submitted to building. Next. These are the materials, just to give you a sense of the character of the house. High quality vinyl siding, asphalt roofing, split face masonry for our foundation where it's visible above grade. Next. And again, the rendering. We had a modern take on a traditional strategy with the shed roof for the roof of the main body of the home, where our porch roof is flat, which is a contemporary strategy that wraps around to the south of the structure onward to the garage, tying that in. And you can see our main entry is a very unique strategy as well, with glazing as a side light and above the glazed transom. You can see that pretty much in commercial applications, but we thought that especially with our piers rising up substantially above the porch elevation, that all of these characteristics combined create a very unique solution to a traditional residential strategy. Next. Next. And these are more details framing. Next, Maurice.
Sorry, they're replacing the gas lines at my house and they want to turn the gas back on. So.
Okay, no problem. Next. So again, this speaks to our square footage. That one drawing, if you proceed, if you go back one, Maurice, I just wanted to speak to that.
Okay, sorry. To the description?
Just one slide back, the square footage analysis. Yes. So in essence, the lower level, which isn't depicted here, you can see our square footage. The original square footage was 1,800 square feet, which is a moderately sized home for the neighborhood. And we're picking up that same square footage on the lower level, ultimately when the lower level is finished. Okay, next.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Bickerstaff, but regarding the air conditioning condenser unit, we should probably get clarification from Mr. Riccardi that is no longer needed. It still looked like to me that it is in the side yard and would still be considered a side yard encroachment. So if Mr. Riccardi could say yes or no, that would be great.
While we're waiting for him, could we continue on?
I just wanted to be clear, Ms. Kukla, that again, the side yard setback is 5 feet. We have that. And then we have an additional 2'8" where the garage steps to the north of the house. So that's 32 inches. Our condensing unit is 29 inches square. So within that recess comfortably.
So you're saying it's not actually in the side yard?
No,
Gotcha.
not at all. Correct. I mean, we can go back to that portion of the drawing, but, you know.
Mr. McCarty, is that okay then?
Is it a half inch? 28.5, 29?
Correct.
So it's a half inch into the approach.
No, it's 2 feet 8. 2.87.
Okay, it's 29 inches, so that's 2 feet. Okay.
Fine.
2 feet 5.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
Mr. Riccardi stated he's checking the zoning code.
Okay. We can proceed to the larger home.
We want to move to the next house, Dan?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Can we just concentrate on the variance issues?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. With the larger home, again, the square footage is what really triggers the variance. The first and second level obviously equate to 2,355 square feet, which is compliant. But again, we're looking to the lower level. Next. Go ahead. Next. I want to speak to this. One more. Go back, Maurice. One more. Go back. Yes. Again, you know, this is an important drawing because,
Sorry, there's a delay from when you, there's a delay from when you say next and when it changes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to speak to the commission regarding what impact our project is going to have on this East Side neighborhood. These, again, as I mentioned, are 6 homes of phase 1, and looking to create, a plethora of new residential structures ranging from the single family to townhomes and then multifamily that are in the salmon color structures. So the impact will be significant, and hopefully these variances will not preclude us from moving forward. Next. You can go ahead. I already spoke to these. Okay, so you can see from the design, it's a pretty unique design solution. In this drawing, you can see to the south, we have a fence with a gate. The fence that we are specifying will be 5 feet maximum. So that's another variance that's not required at this time. Next. Now what's happening here, which triggers the other variance request, is the second floor cantilevers over the first floor by 3 feet. We have a 5-foot setback on the lower level, on the first level. So we have a 2-foot setback on the second level, and there's a minimum of 3, obviously. So that's the variance that we would be looking for as well for this particular project. Okay, you can just cycle through. That covers all of the variance requests and lower level that I addressed that we're looking to finish at a later date.
Madam Chair, just want to point out that Mr. Riccardi wrote in the chat that the air conditioning variance will not be needed.
Okay. Now, where is it here in this?
No, that was for the previous home, but we have a side yard that's recessed. If you stay there, Maurice, you see the middle yard? There's a middle yard that's a negative space between the garage and the house. So we have ample space there to locate the compressor.
Okay.
I mean, we have roof decks on this particular one as an option that you see. So it's a very exciting project that we're happy to be involved with. Next. You can just cycle through. We're pretty much, you can just see the quality of the materials. Solution. Go ahead.
This belongs in Hollywood.
Just stop, pause here for a second, Maurice. This is a rendering of that second home. As you can see, we took a very contemporary approach with the larger structure to sort of set the mark there in terms of our development for the future dwellings. And I don't know, Kevin, if you would like to share a few words about what's the importance of this project.
So thank you, Dan and board. Really appreciate the time. And the only piece that I would add is that not only do you see the elegant design, it's also about the impact to the neighborhood. As we see current conditions versus future conditions here is really what gets us excited about this project. Looking to, as Mr. Bickerstaff overviewed, no doubt this is first phase. But as we really start looking to connect a number of housing types at a variety of pricing points to really reactivate this neighborhood and honor its history is something that we're really proud to be working with. And so appreciate both the architect and the board's time here and look forward to moving this project forward.
Thank you.
That concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Dan. Is there anybody else that needs to speak?
Madam Chair, we had Susan McNair, and she had her hand raised from earlier.
Susan, are you with us? Susan? Going once, going twice?
No, don't go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, I have a question. I reside at 6513 Linwood Avenue, which is, I think, adjacent to this property. And there's a street, East 66th Place, that allows access to my backyard and the neighbor next door's backyard. And I'm trying to find out how this building of this property will affect my access to and from my backyard.
Yeah, I can respond to that. Actually, your access will be enhanced. Currently, it's like I mentioned previously, it's an existing alleyway, and we'll be seeking some assistance from the city to help upgrade that alley because it's our only access to our garages. So it won't preclude you continued and further use for you.
Okay. That sounds good.
Thanks,
sounds good. I just needed to know that information. Actually, I have another question. Who, I guess I don't know how to say it, but for these properties, your potential audience for these properties. Who are they?
I'm going to let Kevin speak to that.
Great. And just to make sure I'm clear, you're saying the kind of end user buyers, or when you say audience, just help me understand what the end user, is that what you're asking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there's 2 points. One is, as we recognize the history of Huff and the vibrancy that's happened despite decades long disinvestment, our ability to bring folks back to our city and to help stabilize and bring vibrancy into the Huff neighborhood. We see our audience as broadly individuals that have history and experience in Huff that for a variety of circumstances have found themselves outside of our neighborhood, looking to bring them back. So I would say that the overall project has a variety of end users. I think for this purpose is working with homeowners that have expressed an interest in coming back to Huff, particularly from a variety of inner ring and other neighborhoods in the city. That has been our first phase of individuals that raise their hand and say, how do we come back into the city? How do we kind of follow the footsteps of, Carol Allen and the like that have really paved a path that we're honored to be walking down? So I would answer the question to say kind of bringing folks back that have a history. And then as we grow additional housing units, really attracting a broad-based mixed income kind of variety of price points. But the first phase is kind of bringing people back home to Huff.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, we have Robin Walton.
Robin?
Hi, yes, I own the property located at 6511 Linwood Avenue. Is there going to be any assistance? I'm asking this to Kevin, as far as the current property owners if there would be any assistance to help us even upgrade our property so it meshes in with the new development. And if that is questionable.
So yes, Ms. Walton, I really appreciate that, because what we're doing is a couple things here. One is obviously the work before this board is kind of getting the pathway cleared for the first 6 homes, but really partnering with members of the city and council people. We really see this as an opportunity to use these new structures and development to help improve the overall value and aesthetic for the neighborhood. Now, I can't say that that's solely our responsibility or something that we are leading explicitly. However, what you hear in a partner and as our neighbors is our opportunity to really help bring the resources and revitalization back to this neighborhood and neighbors like yourself. So, the best way that I feel like I can answer it without making promises is to say, you have a partner here in us. And what we're trying to do is to really bring the resources to bear that honors the existing neighbors as well as attract future. And so I'm confident that we can find ways to get a sense, again, what's needed and how do we align the resources to the needs. We do this type of work with community, not to community. And so building from your needs is an opportunity for us to collaborate, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Any other questions, board? Or anybody else that needs to be?
I have nobody else with their hand raised other than Alana.
Okay, Miss Alana. We can't hear you.
And Mr. Bickerstaff again after that.
Okay. Can't hear you, Alana. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I had to step out early in the presentation. My question was, did I miss a landscape plan? And if I didn't, what are the plans for the plantings on the property?
If you can go back, go forward. No, forward. I'm sorry. I guess it was the first house that had the plan. Just go back to the rendering and we'll discuss it. Yep. You can see we have a substantial planting bed in front of the front porch, as well as along the garage and both sides of the home. We have a mix of evergreen and deciduous plantings. And obviously, the homeowner will be engaged in that process as well to provide additional landscaping.
Okay. So very traditional plantings, it's looking like, then, rather than grasses and things that are more contemporary.
Right, correct, at this point.
Okay. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. The one final note I wanted to make was that this project was unanimously approved by the City Planning Housing Design Review Subcommittee back in March. They had one caveat, which was to provide a canopy above the door, which isn't shown on the rendering, but it is shown on the construction documents. So I just want to let you guys know that we met all of their requirements as well.
Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, board? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I just would like to echo Mr. Bickerstaff's comments that the Planning Commission has fully approved and is 100% supportive of this project. We think this is a great project. We worked very closely with Dan on these house designs. He was very responsive to any comments that we had. And these are also relatively minor variances that go along with almost all new construction in the city of Cleveland.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, given the testimony that we've heard, the detailed descriptions of the projects on both properties, the fact that they mitigated a number of variances that they needed and no longer do need. And they're great looking structures, both of them. and it's exciting to see this new development in this neighborhood going forward. I move that we approve the variances for both calendar number 120-132 and calendar number 20-133.
I'll second that motion. Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendars 20-132 and 20-133 are granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we'll send you a letter.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commission members. And
Thank
Liz,
you.
appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay. 20-134. Go ahead, Ms. Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-134 at 4329 Lorraine Avenue. AHA Development OCH LLC owner proposes to construct a new retail and office building in a D3 local retail business and a pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinance as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan.
Everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to make a statement at the end of it. I want to hear I do and your name. Do you who are testifying swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
do.
I do. Michael Fiala. I do. Brian Steffens Atai.
I do. James Asimus.
All right. Anyone else?
I do. Ben Trimble.
Okay. Anyone else?
Okay. History of the property, please. Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2011, it was changed to local retail and placed in a pedestrian retail overlay district. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1919 to erect a store and, quote, buildings. In 1939, a two-story addition was placed on the property. And in 1966, a permit was issued to repair fire damage to a furniture store. There are no variances on file, and in the more recent history, I found that in March of this year, a permit was issued to demolish a two-story structure on the site. And that's all that I have.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the, legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the off-street parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the spokesperson for AHA Development?
You have James Asimus on the line with the ownership group.
Okay. James, tell us exactly what you'd like, well, what you need to do here. Hello?
Yes, we have the property on the corner that north of Lorraine Court, south of Lorraine Avenue that we submitted our permit for. The amount of parking provided on that submission is not adequate. However, we have additional parking we're providing to the south of Lorraine Court as part of future development for more of the site. So we're seeking to have the parking for the northern portion approved, given that we are planning additional parking as part of future development.
Are you talking the corner of Apple and West 45th, 43rd Place?
North of Apple, yes.
How many spaces are going to be there for you? You only have 8 spaces proposed?
North of Lorraine Court, yes. We have an additional, I believe it's 20-something proposed south of Lorraine Court, but north of Apple.
Oh, okay. City of Cleveland Planning, are you here?
Yes, I am, ma'am. I spoke with Matt Moss. He asked me to read some comments for you. It says that we have been, the staff has been working with the applicant for a while to align the project with our goals for this location and neighborhood. We fully support this parking variance as if we've been working with them and the land bank to combine city land to meet the parking and development needs for this project. So as the applicant has stated, they will be developing the lots south of Lorraine Court, between Lorraine Court and Apple Avenue, for additional parking. Those lots will be a separate application that will need their own variances because they'll be parking lots in a 2F zoning district. However, the board should also know that those additional parking spaces will be within 400 feet of the Lorraine Avenue parcel and will be owned by the same entity. The variances for today are only necessary because of the timing, not compliance. When the entire project is complete, it will meet the code.
Are those going to be assigned spots? Or you have to drive around to find an empty spot?
Some of the spaces will be assigned, some will not, and will remain that way.
What do you have to do to get an assigned spot? Pay more money.
It's part of consideration paid to commercial tenants for the proposed building at the corner.
Oh. Okay. Let's hear from Ben Trimble. Hi, Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Ben Trimble, Senior Director of Real Estate and Planning for Ohio City Incorporated. This project has been under review for approximately 3 years. They've been waiting on tenants to begin construction. These are some tweaks from what was formally proposed, I think, at our block club about 2.5 years ago. It has been reviewed by both the Fulton Lorraine Bailey as well as the Randall Whitman John Woodbine Block Club. The last time it was at the Fulton Lorraine Bailey Block Club was a couple of years ago. This project is less intense than what was initially proposed. There was another floor on top of the building, the commercial building. We did send these updates to the block club chair both in April as well as June. I did just find out this morning that those are not sent out, though this is less of a project than was initially proposed. He did not believe there would be major objections to it, other than some that were raised at the block club initially about the lack of inclusion of affordable housing in the housing design. As was alluded to by Mr. Moss, we will have to have a separate process for the townhomes that are being proposed here. When we went to the block club, the South Lorraine Block Club at Fulton Lorraine Bailey, the first time we'd actually said that we would return with the townhomes. They're still in a very conceptual phase, so that will have to come back later, and we would like to put that on the record that we would like that to come back to the local block club in the future before it does come back to the City Planning Commission as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals. This item was also reviewed by the Ohio City Design Review Committee as well as the Land Commission, and was approved.
I poured it in here to taste it before I pour it in here.
Excuse me, if you're not talking for this case, please mute your microphone. Was that Ms. Kukla?
You have something to drink.
Okay, sorry about that. Madam Chair, I would also like to point out that we received an email this morning from Councilman McCormick, and he says that he fully supports the variances requested for this project.
Thank you, but we have a letter from David Ellison, the architect at the corner of 2002 West 41st Street. He is definitely in opposition. And we also had another letter. Yes, thank you, from the Cleveland Catholic Worker Community at 4241 Lorraine. They also have a problem with parking, especially with the pedestrian overlay district that reduces it by 33%. We have a support letter from Donald Pettit from the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. Parking is just a nightmare, no matter where we go in the city. We're not New York, but hello. And with construction, going to be continued there, it's not going to make it any easier. All right, others have been sworn in. If you'd be so kind, Maurice, is to tell me whom.
Yes, I have no hands raised. Please raise your hands if you'd like to speak.
No.
Hello, I'm Brian with the Catholic Worker. We're on audio, but we would like to speak.
Okay, go right ahead.
The Catholic Worker has been operating a drop-in center at 4241 Lorraine for 35 years, and volunteers come to provide for folks who are unhoused or otherwise housing insecure clothing and food, and do people's laundry, and welcome people in to use the shower or the toilet. And our volunteers need parking along Lorraine. We have no parking lot as part of our property. And with the increase in new businesses along Lorraine, in particular between 42nd and 44th, parking is becoming a premium. And we're looking down the road, understanding that Lorraine Avenue is slated to be redone with a bike lane on one side of Lorraine. So that would, as we understand, eliminate on-street parking on at least one side of Lorraine in the relatively near future. So we are definitely concerned about the lack of parking currently being exacerbated by this new project. And my fellow member of Catholic Worker, Michael Fiala, is also here, would like to speak.
Yeah, I would add, I would reiterate what Brian said. I think we need to let those things sink in. Lorraine Avenue, half, one side, eliminated parking. So we're not talking about simply, we're reducing what would typically be 45 parking spots needed, which is under the PRO 30, reducing it from 30 to 8. But we're also talking about, actually there's planning going on that says, we're going to eliminate a whole half side. So that's for biking, but that's going to be an elimination. Think about buses going up Lorraine Avenue. It's going to stop all traffic. And we already have a problem. I would also add that we haven't seen the design, and this is actually an overall project. Talking about the block club, 2.5 years of reviewing it. By the way, send out these. This really is an inadequate presentation because we do need to see the whole. And it seems like it is not anything near sufficient time to reasonably look at this projected thing. In fact, we believe a neighbor of ours, their house is gone on this plan. On Lorraine Court, for example. So all of this seems really disrespectful at a sort of fundamental level of presentation. And it's hard to say that because the idea is we would like to actually build genuinely cooperative relationships. And it's not happening. And we have reiterated this in different forms. I understand there's unique challenges, but I think these are insufficient things. We can clearly make outreaches to people to do these things. And this is not a mysterious process, who are the people who are relevant and need to be involved. So this expresses my disappointment and my encouragement for us to do things differently and for this board to consider seriously saying, hey, this can't be passed today. Thank you.
Do we have a rendering from the architect, Maurice?
No, we do not.
Okay.
This is all that was sent.
Okay.
I actually sent something, but late this morning, or should I say like probably at 8 a.m. So it essentially captures what I just said, but yeah.
All right, I kind of agree with the guy. I'd like to see what this is going to be too, but
Madam Chair,
yes.
to the gentleman representing the Catholic worker, is on this plan view that we're looking at, is their building either of the two that are attached to the parcel that we're talking about? I'm just trying to get a sense of how adjacent their building is to this project.
We're about 4 lots.
So we are about 4 lots from the corner. So we are, let's say, you have the old building the old building that was taken down. Then there is the old 3-story building that's there. Then you have the church. Then you have an F&E parking lot. We are in the building right next to that. You're almost there, right there. That's us.
Okay.
So on the other side of you, all those cars that are there on the other side.
That is a used car parking lot. Used car parking. Used car lot. Yeah. It sells cars.
I don't think he's legal.
No.
Okay. Was there
So
other people
there's
Go
no
ahead, Doc.
access off of, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
There's
no,
no
go right
access off of, there's no access off of Lorraine Court to the rear of your building then. Is that correct, gentlemen? So there's no opportunity for parking in the rear of your building?
That's correct. There's not.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No, it's me. I think I own the place. Okay, were there other people sworn in, Maurice, that need to speak?
There were. We've asked. I don't know if anybody else would like to speak. Please raise your hand or let us know now.
Nope.
That's all we have.
That's all we have. Board, I don't know. We haven't seen a rendering of how all this is going to develop there at the corner.
I'd be willing to ask for a postponement.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, I think we need to see what's all entailed.
This is James Asimus with the Property Ownership and Development. The building we have proposed here is a very traditional looking one. I apologize that there weren't renderings attached here, but it's one that has received the support of everyone in the city that we have spoken with and worked with the last few years on this building design. It's in line with the nature of other buildings.
But we would need to see it, and I think it should have been something that you shared with the neighbors.
We have shared it with the neighbors, and we have, I apologize it wasn't submitted as part of this, but we didn't anticipate that we would need to come in front of BZA, and it was a misunderstanding and misinterpretation based on what was submitted and the restrictions on what's submitted on either side of Lorraine Court.
Okay, well, the request has been from one of our members that we would like to postpone this until we have all that information.
I think we'd like to see the master plan as well.
Yes.
Correct.
So give us the
What you're looking at is the master plan for it. It calls out what is the building on the corner, additional parking to the south, and then what is future residential as part of a future phase of this project in the light yellow to the south of the property.
Give me a postponed date, Mrs. Kukla.
Sure, Madam Chair. How about October 12th? That's the soonest.
I'm sorry, if there is any way in which we can expedite this, it wasn't our anticipation to go in front of BZA with this. It was a misunderstanding in our communication with planning and with building and housing. And if there's any way in which we can expedite this, it would be a tremendous help to our project. We are already at a timeline that is barely tenable for what we need to do in order to get this building constructed before the winter sets in. It would create a hardship to us if we are delayed significantly because of this. Can we have some kind of conditional approval given submission of what the building will look like, and that staff is able to review?
Board?
When's the earliest you could get them back on the agenda? 2 weeks?
The earliest we can get it back would be October 5th. We do have a lot on that date. So no, they would bump them up a week.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
In some cases, we have extremely thorough presentations for projects of less expansiveness than this. And in this case, unfortunately, they didn't come to the table as prepared as perhaps they should have been. So if we can get them on the agenda for the 5th, which is a week earlier, it makes a full agenda for us, but I think it helps expedite their project and it gives them an opportunity to collect themselves and get a full presentation prepared for us.
I appreciate that, but this is also something that Landmarks has reviewed and given the approval of for the design on the corner, and their
But we're not seeing
standard
the design, sir.
I
We've asked for that, and one would think that given the scope of this project, and I'm sure the level of professionalism with which you operate, that if you knew you were going to have to come before us, that you would have come prepared. So we're going to give you until October 5th.
Is that okay, Mrs. Kukla?
Yes, we'll add them on.
Well, I hope all the board members can stay for the full amount of time. I notice that we're getting more and more and people are leaving at 12. We can't do that. Either that or we got to cut down how many cases we hear.
We should start earlier.
Yeah, I'm all for it, Tim. I'm sitting here at 9 o'clock. I can do it.
So I'm also requesting that the neighbors receive information that's much more thorough than what we've been getting. Because even though we are in this situation of having social and physical distancing, a better communication from OCI and the developer is a reasonable request. And I would ask that that be done in the next 2 weeks, period.
So what? I don't know who that was speaking. Was that James?
That's the guy from the Catholic.
That was not me.
Oh, no.
That was me, Michael Fiala.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I didn't know who I was talking to. Yeah, there could have been a community meeting with those, or at least an invitation. Whether they showed up or not was up to them. But I think you're absolutely right. This is a big project that's going to impact all those businesses along that street.
Madam Chair, I think Mr. Trimble would like to speak, and I think he did state that they have been to community meetings, and I'm sure it's been to the local design review committee as well in order to get through and get a landmarks commission approval.
Okay,
Go ahead, Mr. Trimble.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, so there was a community meeting about this. It was a couple years ago, though, because this has been such a long development timeline. We did send this out to the block club twice, actually. I understand that things are very difficult now with communication. They did not forward that for whatever reason. So I apologize. That I'll take the responsibility for it. We did send it to the block club. We will send it to Mr. Fiala, as well as ask the block club chair to send it directly out to the block club today. Okay.
Hey Ben, I think
I would say that the only update is that the project has gotten smaller. So I mean, this does actually meet the parking requirement. It's just that it's off-site, which is something that's certainly allowed for and provided for in the pedestrian retail overlay. the only thing that's changed in this project since it was seen by the Block Club a couple years ago is that it's gotten 1 story smaller.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Ben, Tim
Yes,
Donovan
sir.
here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I would,
I
Michael,
mean, excuse me, I'm trying to get something in here. I think that meeting with the nearby neighbors is probably an important thing. Sometimes, they don't come to a meeting, but if you're, almost your next door neighbor, you do want to share that with them. It's going to disrupt their lives one way or another. All right.
And for the record, we have made ourselves available to the immediate neighbors around our property, given our personal contact information, so that they can reach out to us with any concerns or comments they have throughout the entire process.
Well, from what I'm hearing, though,
hoping to hide here.
This thing was dead in the water for 2 years. You can understand why people are a little bit shocked. All of a sudden, it's back on, and there's been no intermediate communications that you have to be more proactive on. I mean, that's where we're at right now. That's why we're talking.
We have continued to be proactive about this in reaching out to the neighbors on our immediate vicinity. This has not been something in which we have gone quiet for years, in which we've hoped that neighbors would forget about us or not reach out to us or feel that we weren't invested in this. The group, our partnership that's developing this, are neighbors in this neighborhood. We have ties into this neighborhood. This is not something where we're coming from out of town or from out of Avon to do something here. And this added delay is very painful to our costs here because we're so close to winter coming.
No. We're going to have summer again. It's going to be 80 on Sunday. Okay.
It's not just the next few weeks. It's the fact that the process of it, we're putting a building in that's a brick facaded building to fit in the nature of the neighborhood. Because of that, we need certain temperatures to be able to do that. And if we have to wait until October 5th and beyond that to get our permit approved, our plans approved, the process of building the building is going to make it so that we have the sequence for bricklaying happens in January and February, in which it's just not possible to do.
Madam
I'm
Chair,
sorry. Yes, Ms. Faith.
to the appellant, sir, I can sense your frustration. And we are fully aware of what delays in construction cause due to weather in this area, but you did not come fully prepared today. So we will see, if we can agree upon this, we'll see you back on October 5th and we'll move forward at that point. In the meantime, perhaps you and your neighbors can have a conversation and you can be in good faith with them and you will not have as many objections. So if you're able to do that, then I think we'd like to see you back on October 5th and we can move it along as quickly as possible then.
Okay, board. I need
Call the roll.
Call the roll, Mrs. Kukla.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes. Ms. Barnes, yes.
Ms. Britt?
No.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Case is postponed to October 5th.
Thank you all. Okay. Calendar 20-050.
Oh, Madam Chair?
Yes.
We have Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland here.
Okay.
And we would like to call her case next, if that would be all right with you.
Okay, 20-072 at 5909 Cable Avenue. Go ahead, Ms. Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This case was postponed from August 10th. Excuse me.
Whose phone?
Calendar number 20-072.
Everybody motion now.
I believe that was Sharon Love's phone. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, someone else is going to have to read. I'm coughing.
Go ahead, Faith. Are you okay?
She said she's coughing. So calendar number 20-072 at 5909 Cable Avenue. ABA Enterprise Connect LLC owner proposes to establish use as a children's boarding home for ages 10 to 17 in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals from relief from the strict application of the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances. 337.03, which states that use is not permitted in a two-family residential district, first permitted in a multifamily residential district, and only when at least 15 feet from other premises, per section 33708E3, filed June 29, 2020.
Go ahead, Tim.
Will everyone for this case please raise your right hand?
Raise the hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Kudzai Matamajani.
Okay.
I do, Chris Alvarado.
Okay.
I do, Audra Card.
All right, next. Do we have Councilwoman Cleveland on this? Or?
Yes,
Did you say I do it?
I do.
Okay. Anyone else? Looks like we're done.
Okay, we've had the history of the property previously, so let's go right to the legal standard we'll be judging the case on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. To ABA, did you have a chance to meet with the Slavic Village and the councilwoman and Nicole Calhoun from City Planning?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what was the outcome of that conversation, those conversations?
We actually initially met at the home, and we had a tour of the home in terms of what we wanted to utilize the home for and how we were going to utilize the home for. At that point, we then decided to get an architect so that the architect could clearly define how we are then going to utilize that space. I know initially when I had came to the board meeting prior, the board had suggested lowering the number of kids that we were going to have in the home, which is exactly what I have done. And we did have a neighborhood meeting. Unfortunately, there were no neighbors that were able to show up. So we were and proceeded on with the meeting that was supposed to be held for the neighbors to provide them with an opportunity to voice their concerns. And I know at this point, I have done everything within my power to make sure that I, do as much as I can to provide the neighbors with, information that they might need and addressing some of their concerns, as well as being able to take on some of the suggestions that the board had suggested for me in moving forward with this plan. At this point, I am looking to be given the opportunity to make a difference in the community and to be given the ability to utilize my skills with helping youth as a social worker. And it would be the world if I was given the opportunity to help youth in that community. And of course, obviously, get the neighbors to embrace and support what I would like to do. And I will only be working with sibling groups. So I have minimized the number of kids.
Somebody still has their phone unmuted and mute your phone. It's driving us crazy. Okay, let's hear from some of the folks that have come down. Well, let's hear from the councilwoman. She probably is busy and wants to get out of here. Councilman Cleveland, let's hear from you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you for taking us out of order. I just want to say, well, this is our third meeting for this esteemed body. We did set up a community meeting, and as Madam Machani stated, actually no residents attended the meeting, but I have been in contact with residents on the street. They have reached out to me personally, individually, and I was at I did tour the house at that meeting, and from a personal level, I understand, what the applicant is trying to do, and I think there is definitely a need for that service in our communities to return children and to help heal children in the neighborhood which they come from, balanced against the needs and rights of residents in existing communities, and just so I understand that and I support that as a service to the community. But in this particular instance, based on my conversations with neighbors neighbors to this property, most of them have expressed concerns about having a home, an operation this large in a residential community, which is basically, it's a pretty good street, a pretty quiet street most of the time, but they've expressed concerns about that. The increase in traffic, from people who provide services to the youth residents, their family members, perhaps, parking, the divergence in the ages where you have possibly preteens as young as 10 in a home with young people who are nearly adults, 16 or 17 years old, that creates concerns as well. So although I am supportive of the activity, and as I've explained before, based on my feedback from residents, I'm not supporting the variance for this particular property.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Was the director of Slavic Village sworn here?
Yes, ma'am, I was. Hello, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. So, so we had a last meeting on Wednesday, September the 16th. Notice went out a week before, so the notice went out on September the 9th. Ms. Madamachani, as well as her architect, David Howe, were available. In fact, I believe Mr. Howe is on this call as well. I don't think he's been sworn in. They did show significantly improved drawings. I hope that they should be on this presentation, Mr. Rulins, that show that the number of bedrooms has been decreased. I think the original plan was to have 4 bedrooms on the second floor with 1 bed per, and then 3 bedrooms on the first floor with 2 beds per bedroom. So that would be a total of 10 beds. And that was brought down to having 2 bedrooms on the first floor. That's the older drawing there. We'll keep on moving. They also increased the number of bathrooms as well. It doesn't. Maurice, do you have the drawings?
I'm looking for them now. I don't think I got a set of updated drawings from for this particular project. Ms. Kukla, did you send something?
I'm checking now. I believe we received them, but I'm checking now to see if I sent them.
This is what this is what I received. Are these the old drawings?
Those are the old drawings, yes. I know that Ms. Kukla, you received them in the same time that I did. I'm happy to share my screen if that's helpful.
Yeah, we can't do that, but
understood.
Let me keep checking. If you can continue, I'll try to find it.
Could you tell me the date? Do you happen to have the date of that communication in front of you, Mr. Amorano?
I believe that it was on Wednesday, but I can check to make sure.
That helps.
The communication would have been on Tuesday, September the 15th.
My question to you, Christopher, is are you for or against the project?
I'm for this project. I feel like that they've made a good faith effort to meet the requirements. I do understand the concerns that neighbors have about the number of cars, since there would be 8 young people and they're looking at a 1 to 2 match that would mean that there would be at least 4 cars, perhaps, depending on a shift change taking place, more cars. There is a long driveway there, so most, if not all, the cars can be accommodated on that driveway. But yes, and I believe, having talked to Ms. Madamachani and other staff members, it sounds like they have a good plan in place for caring for the children.
Did they do any cleanup of the property since the first pictures we've seen?
Yes, they did. They did some significant cleanups of the property. Yes.
Okay. But we don't have the plans, Mrs. Kukla?
Hold on. I just got them from Mr. Alvarado.
Yeah, I found them just now too.
There we go.
Here we go. Thank you.
Okay.
And I don't know if, I can speak to these, or Mr. Howe or Ms. Madamachani can speak to them if they would like.
Mr. Howe? Unmute your... Mr. Howe? Unmute your phone. Go ahead, Mr. Alvarado. We don't have time for all this. Go ahead.
I understand. Okay, so you can see here, going from left to right, you have left floor, to the left, that's a 3rd floor plan that they have just for, just general open space, lounge, etc. The only thing that's different with the 3rd floor is that it'll be finished. Nobody will be living there, of course. 2nd floor plan, you've got the original 4 bedrooms, 1 full bath, 1 bed per bedroom. Each one of those are for girls. 1st floor, that's where the major changes have been made. So if you want to start from the bottom of that drawing, you have to the left a reception area. That's for intake. So basically a private office, so that as new youth come in with their caseworkers, are able to meet with them without and disturbing the rest of the home, and privacy issues and such. You then see also on the bottom to the right there, the living room / dining room space. Above that, you have 2 full bathrooms, and then above that, you have 2 bedrooms, each with 2 beds, 2 dressers, 2 desks, etc. They're fairly decently sized. Kitchens to the left. And then on the basement, there is an office, a nurse's station, and then another activity area. Presently, the basement is not finished, but they said they were going to make improvements to that.
All right.
Anybody else that's on the list to talk?
We had, Madam Chair, we had Audra Carter and Gladys Jovanovich.
Audra?
Hi. Yes, hi. I believe that the proposal from the board was for Ms. Kadazia with the decrease in children. I think what was presented to her was about 4 children. So I'm still opposed to this type of quote unquote institution being right across the street from me. There's a vast difference between a foster home and even now an 8-bed children's institution. So I really, and you guys are discussing the plans more so versus the decrease in the amount of kids. That's still 8 times the 8 times the amount of visitors, 8 times the amount of social workers. So I don't really think that that makes a huge difference. We're talking about plans, but we're going to be the ones suffering over here. So I still just request that she's not granted the variance. I don't think it's just not, something that I want to live across the street from. It's a noble cause, like I mentioned before, and being a foster mom for 8 years myself, it's a vast difference between a foster home and this 8-bedroom children's institution. So
Thank you, Audra. I need your home address though, Audra.
Okay, I'm at 5906 Cable.
Thank you.
And then I believe we also had, yes, Gladys Dravanovich is also on the same call.
Yes.
And she's at 5905 Cable Avenue.
Okay.
Correct. From the beginning, I always because I live here for almost 40 years, and I don't want to, we have enough here problem with the neighbor who live here, and we're gonna have more problems here. And the only I can say is I object about this one, Sept.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I think we had, I see that Kudzai has her hand up, but we're still going through all the people that wish to testify. So is there a Miles and Donovov? Did you wish to speak, sir?
Antonov, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Sorry about the mispronunciation.
No problem. I'm across the street.
What's your address?
You're cutting in and out.
5914.
Okay.
And I totally agree with Miss Audra. We did, less children, and totally.
Okay.
Okay, so he is opposed. I think we're having some audio connections, problems. But I think Mr. Miles, we have your statement of opposition.
Okay.
Any other comments, board?
I thought I do remember us looking at lowering the number of initial kids that would be involved with this in order to build up a level of trust in the neighborhood that this would be something that wouldn't bring all the problems that everybody's envisioning. So I thought we had lowered the number, and it could have been 4, could have been 6, but I don't think it was 8.
No, it was never 8.
Madam Chair, the applicant does have her hand raised.
Okay.
Maybe she can speak to that.
I know initially we did have that discussion about lowering the number of, well, before I even go there, I just wanted to kind of thank the neighbors for coming to the meeting. I know that we have tried to connect with everybody in, following what the board had suggested for us to have neighborhood meetings, which is why letters were sent out so that we were able to have discussions like this. Unfortunately, neighbors were unable to show up for, I'm sure various amount of reasons. And my hope for those neighborhood meetings was so that we could have discussions such as the one that we're having now, so we could get to a place of understanding. I know initially prior to the meeting that we had before, I have, tried to reach out to everybody, coming to everybody's door, because I respect you, I respect you all, and I want to be available to answer some of the questions and concerns you all have. My goal, like I had suggested, is to come in and make a difference. I don't want to come in and bring disturbance to the neighborhood. And I understand a lot of your valid concerns. I know that they about social workers. As a social worker myself, social workers don't come out every week. They only come out once a month. And with the meeting that we had, with suggestions that the board had given me, was to lower it down to 6 rooms, which is exactly what we did. Initially, I've made tremendous changes. I've tried to follow through with everything that has been, asked of me, as well as trying to reach out to all the neighbors. But sometimes it's a little difficult when we have things like this and nobody attends, because we then have to go through situations like this on the day of the actual meeting, which was why the request from the board was so that we had those meetings so we could iron out a lot of these issues and concerns. So what I am asking from everybody is to be given the chance, to prove to everybody that I am not here to harm the neighborhood. I'm here to help kids. And when we look at 8 kids, it's not like we have 6 rooms, and I am only going to be taking 2 sibling groups. So majority of the time, I know it seems as though, it's 8 kids. 8 kids are going to come out here and they're going to just bring a lot of havoc. So what I am really pleading, based on a lot of the effort that I put in, is the ability to come in and prove myself and to get everyone's support. I've tried.
Madam Chair, we also have Nicole Calhoun, the neighborhood planner for the area.
Okay. Nicole?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have, as everyone has previously stated, we did put out a meeting for the community. We did a walkthrough as well. I am in agreement with the CDC in this state, in this point, in that Ms. Matamajani did agree to lower the number of children to a 2 sibling group. And I think people are misunderstanding what she is offering. These are not 8 individual children from individual homes. This is for sibling groups only. And they have to be of same sex according to the restriction that the board has given her. She has complied. The 2 beds that are on the first floor may not even be used based upon the sibling group. I think that needs to be understood as well. We're talking about two simple sibling family groups, not individual children. And I think which kind of changes the institutional side of it. It will be more. I think it's more suitable for what we are asking for, and I think she has complied with everything that the board has asked. Also, I have not heard anything else from any of the residents in contrary nor for. So I stand with the CDC on this. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Nicole. Any other folks?
We have nobody else with their hands raised at this time.
Any board members? Any questions?
Oh, we have Audra Carter again has her hand raised.
Audra?
Hi again. I'm just concerned about if the variance is granted, if it's 2 sibling groups, who's to monitor if that's the activity that's actually taking place? When you have a licensing to do, or you have a variance, if the house is granted the variance and she's able to take up to 8 or whatever, who's to monitor that type of activity is going? And then if there's an emergency placement, I mean, I'm sure that she couldn't find it in her heart to deny an emergency situation, which would probably go beyond the 2 sibling groups. So I don't know how the designation is granted that you can only take 2 sibling groups when it comes to placing these kids. If that variance is granted, she does have the institution over there. I've walked through the house as well. So if it was fixed up as a residential home, you could accommodate 2 sibling groups without making a waiting area or whatnot, because it would then be a home and it wouldn't call for a variance.
Okay. Board?
Ms.
Yes.
Madam Chair, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Ms. Carter, so what just to clarify some of the questions and concerns that you have, we are always monitored. I know that through Children's Services, they actually give you a license, and a licensing agent is constantly coming out to make sure that, we are doing what we're supposed to do. So I hope that kind of eases you a little bit more, And like I said, I'm always available to answering any of your questions, answering any of your concerns. And I want you to understand that I really understand your concerns, and I am willing to work with you and to do whatever I can to make, you know, a lot of your concerns and make you at ease.
Madam Chair, Audra Carter again, I think, or is that? Audra, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to just say, yeah, I do admire what she's trying to do, but would there really be a cause for a variance to make that something other than a two-family residential property, if that is her intention, just to accommodate two sibling groups? Why does the floor plan, why does any of that has to be changed if that's what the intention is? You could very well do that with the two sibling groups that what you're stating that you're intending to do. You could do that without the variance. So I'm just afraid that if the variance and it's changed to something other than a residential home, you know, what the long-term effect will be on this neighborhood. We'll have hers, then we'll have more coming in. And I haven't seen you in quite a while. I'm a truck driver and I am at home, you know, I'm out a week and I'm home a week. So I really haven't even seen you around here. And I live right across the street. So I just hope that you guys don't grant this variance. Yeah, do what you want to do with the two sibling groups, but I don't think it calls for a variance in the home. That could accommodate what your intentions are.
Any comments?
She probably couldn't get a license. Yeah, she has to probably be able to answer certain questions about the institutional use.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going to get away. This is classic. Not in my backyard. Seeing all the worst stuff happening. On the other side of the table, you have a woman who seems highly committed, passionate, somebody that I think will probably go out of her way to try to make it right and make it happen. And the question is, are you going to give her a chance to do it? Personally, I'd like to give her a chance.
I'm with you, Tim. Would you like to make a motion?
Well, some of my fellow board members weigh in.
Well, I think we just have to limit the number.
Yeah, I think that's a. But it's like that one woman said, though. You know, this is like learning a new kind of math for me, because it isn't like individual children. It's except up to 8 people. It has to do with family groupings, and if they have 3 kids, the package is 3. If they have 4 kids, the package is 4. So I mean, I think what we're trying to do there is to say that the amount of people that are participating in the house cannot exceed a certain number, no matter what the packages are. And you know, I'm sure that she'll try to. I'm sure she'll more than try. She'll abide by it, and the hope would be after a year of no problems, there's no trouble, and maybe some of the neighbors are even part of the group itself. But that's the way I see
Madam
it.
Chair,
Yes, Alana.
question to the appellant. And Maurice, can we go back to the floor plan for the first floor?
Yes, ma'am. I also want to point out that Councilwoman Cleveland would also like to comment. Coming up. Hold on.
Alana? Oh, you're waiting for the.
Yeah,
waiting
hold on.
for the plan to come
Computer's not cooperating. There we go.
Okay.
Whose phone needs to be muted?
Got it.
Thank you.
To the appellant, are there going to be any staff members living in this house?
So there are no staff members that are going to be living in the house, but there are staff members that are going to be there watching the kids 24/7. So we will obviously have fewer staff. So we will have 2 staff.
So you'll have 2 staff in the house 24/7. Are they going to need a bedroom?
No. So none of the staff are going to be sleeping because staff cannot sleep whatsoever. So it's 24-hour care at all times. During the afternoon, there will be 4 staff that are going to be there. And then at night, obviously, we don't need that much staff because the kids are asleep. So
Are you willing to reduce the 2 bedrooms on the first floor to 1 bed?
At
So
this
you'd
point,
have a total of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You can finish.
My question is if you'd be willing to reduce the 2 first floor bedrooms to 1 bed, so you'd have a total of 6 beds in the house and a capacity for 6 children.
I would be open to anything. Just like I said before, the only reason why we had followed the guidelines of the prior meeting was because sometimes with sibling groups, you just never know. So sometimes I just wanted to be able to accommodate being able to still take sibling groups. So with the number of rooms that I had already minimized initially, it was just providing an opportunity to not have to obviously turn down sibling groups. Because sometimes you do get kids that it's 3 in a sibling group, and sometimes you get kids that are 7. So I just wanted to be able to accommodate that so that I can still keep siblings connected together.
Well, here's, excuse me, I was coughing earlier and it's not quite past. Here's my concern. My concern is that the center bedroom on the first floor looks rather crowded to me. And the bedroom in the back has the door to the outside, which will be locked, but it still is an access point to the outside. So I feel like it would be safer if there were 1 bed in each of those rooms, just for an occupancy limit. And are you, just to confirm, you're willing to keep the children as to 1 sex? So you'll have the same sex throughout the household? Or are you going to have to be able to take mixed family groups?
Yes, mixed family groups, because sometimes with sibling groups, you'll get a brother and a sister. And I think that's the biggest issue now is you see a lot of sibling groups, just as a social worker, you see a lot of sibling groups that are now not connected. They have their brother living in one home, the sister living in one home, and it's very hard. They yearn for that. They yearn to maintain those connections. And sometimes when sibling groups have been removed from the home, it means so much because all they care about and all they feel they have is their sister or their brother. So this is, a really, really big need that I want to at least be able to, provide. Because I know if I look at myself, I wouldn't want to be without my sister. I wouldn't want to be without my brother, which is why I'd like to keep it like that.
So are you willing to limit to six children?
Absolutely. At this point, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If that is what has to happen, I'm willing to do that.
Because you have made significant changes to the floor plan and the use plan of the building itself since you were here before us previously. You've opened up the 3rd floor. You've made changes to the basement. You've opened up the common space on the 1st floor. So I think, if you're willing to take it down to a limit of 6, then that might be something that might be, more agreeable to everyone.
Because I know now we have 6 rooms. Initially, there was 10 rooms.
Right.
So I had already minimized it, and I mean it's fine. I mean at this point, the reason why I had minimized it and utilized that other room was for cases where you get sibling groups of 4. Because I think now it's interestingly enough, so many people have a lot of kids, and the kids are very widespread. So you get a lot of sibling groups that are even though it's 2 sibling groups, but you do get people that have 4 kids. It's not common.
And I think what you're trying to do is commendable, but you're not going to be able to meet everybody's needs. And I
Absolutely.
think at this point, you know, if we can get to a point where you're willing to limit, and that might be more agreeable to all parties involved, then at least you're helping some children rather than no children.
Absolutely.
You ready to make a motion, Alana?
Well, I think
Madam?
Councilwoman Cleveland needed to speak,
Oh,
and
I'm
I
sorry.
will yield the floor to her.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to go back. I think I see where this is headed. And so number one, I'm going to say if the board is inclined to grant the variance, I want to make sure that language is included that restricts the number of children who are allowed to be placed at any one time, as well as, you know, the restrictions that there are only going to be family groups. And I'm just looking again out for the neighbors who stayed in the neighborhood, who continue to stay in the neighborhood. You know, this is not, when you mention not in my backyard, certainly this is not an affluent or suburban neighborhood that they're trying to keep certain people out. You know, this is a struggling neighborhood. It's not the worst that I have in my community, but it's still a struggling neighborhood of working class people who are trying to hold on, and nobody seems to look out for them, you know. And so that's my role, and that's what I'm here for. And I just felt like the neighbors are being kind of disparaged because they're trying to hold on to the peace and quiet and the things that everybody wants in their neighborhoods. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, to you and to them that, you know, they have the right, like any other neighbors do, to, you know, fight for their quality of life. And this is something, it's not, you know, looking at something that might happen. We live in a neighborhood, in a community where a lot of bad things happen. They don't have to imagine what might come. They see it sometimes on their street, sometimes the next street over. So, you know, we're not, again, this is not a fairy tale idyllic neighborhood where people are just looking down their noses at others. You know, they're fighting every day for their quality of life. But again, I would like that, I would ask that if the variance is granted, restrictions are explicit, because if there are, they're not going to come back to for resolution. So I just like to have that support if you're inclined to grant the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion. I would like to thank Mr. Councilwoman for her comments. And I will make a motion that on calendar number 20-072 with the following restrictions: that the number of children in the house be limited to 6, occupying only 6 beds in the house. And that with this restriction, that the family groups are limited to 2 family groups, and that with the understanding that those family groups may have both sex children, but that those children will be separated by sex and by floor.
Second.
With those restrictions in place, that I move that we go ahead and grant the variance.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-72 is granted conditionally. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Calendar 20-050, Ms. Faith.
I just wanted to say thank you to thank you.
We're late.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-050 at 3586 East 140th Street. Sharon Love, owner, proposes to use existing family residence for a maximum of 5 people residential care facility. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Yes.
Tim?
Can you hear me?
Mr. Donovan, you're muted.
All right, sorry about that. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name?
Sharon Love.
Anyone else?
Okay.
No.
We've had the history of this property. The legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the spacing requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning.
The last time we met, we suggested that you meet with the councilman and then read the Development Corporation. I'm sorry.
Yes, I did. I met with Mr. Joseph Duffy from Union Miles Development, and he was agreeable with me. He said he didn't mind. I met with what's the other lady's name? I wrote it down. Madden Kozar from downtown, and they were did they send a letter or anything down?
Liz?
Either one of those?
Tonya Brown, yeah.
Okay, and what about Joseph Duffy from the Union Miles Development?
Tonya Brown
you
is
have
your
that?
neighbor. She's against allowing a group home next door. She lives next door to you.
She
Kevin
said what?
Bishop? Hello, boy, you're clicking them so fast I can't read them.
Sorry, I wanted to see if I had anything from the person she was talking about, and no, I do not. These are the 3 letters that I have. I have the Tanya Brown. I have this one from Phyllis Lanier, who I believe is also a neighbor, and then I have the original letter from Councilman Bishop, where he is, where he says he is in support.
Yes.
Right, and I went around September 19 to a couple of houses, and you know I was trying to talk to them, and I got 3 yeses and 2 no, 2 no's. I introduced myself and told them what I wanted to do in the area.
And the 2 no's, what did they say specifically?
One of them was my next door neighbor, Juanita Ballnight. She just said no. She said she had got a letter from saying that this area wasn't for zoning for a residential care facility.
Madam Chair, I can concur with that. We got a voicemail message from Jeanette, her next door neighbor, and she was opposed to the residential home.
Okay. You wrote again.
Madam Chair.
5 people, is that my understanding?
Yes. 3 said yes and 2 said no.
But you were only going to have 5 in the residence.
Yes, correct.
Board? You certainly have heard this.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. I did find something from the Development Corporation from Amanda Kramer. She was originally on the phone call but has left. She stated that the variance is supported by the Development Corporation. And they see no reason to deny the variance, and they support the variance. That's all that she says in the email.
Okay. Board, any comments?
Trying to remember was this the case that if somebody said the property itself was a wreck, but it really wasn't?
Show the picture, please, Maureen.
And that looks like pretty nice looking property there.
Right.
Looks very nice.
Yeah. All right, so the councilman was for it or against it?
Yes, for.
And the lady next door is not. How do you get along with your neighbor?
We were getting along fine. And she's a little different. She has a 2-family home with a lot of people there, and they were parking in the driveway. And I asked her nicely, at least let me know, that somebody's parking there. And that's when she stopped talking to me.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, we were getting along fine.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the testimony, supporting the councilman, support of local development corporation, I would move that we grant the variance.
Second.
Call the roll. Liz, you're muted.
Gotcha. You're unmuted.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Barnes, yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-6 granted.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
ratify this case next week and send you a letter.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Old business?
Without objection.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
our final case for today, right? 20-01108.
What?
No, that's postponed.
It's postponed.
Oh, it's postponed. I'm sorry.
Scared me half to death.
Well,
Scared me too.
somehow I
Okay.
missed that.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Without objection.
Without objection.
Oh, Madam Chair, it's not number 9. Not number 9, just
Oh,
5, 6, 7, and 8. I apologize
okay.
for that. Didn't-
Okay. So,
Madam Chair, I did want to mention that for item number 7, they came back with, that was the setback issue with the house on, the front house on Clinton. And after
yes.
measuring all of the
Right.
neighboring properties and actually taking another look at the site plan, they look to be in conformance.
Okay. And about the barbed wire update, what's that?
The what?
That would be, they needed to show a plan that had the barbed wire facing in as opposed to over the sidewalk. I don't know if Ms. Kukla received plans for that.
Yes, we did receive it, and it looks
Okay,
good.
good. Okay.
Okay.
Now we need an affirmation on Wade Park and one on Clark Avenue without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection. Thank you very much.
Without objection.
Anything else?
Nope.
I believe that's it.
Next week, bring your lunch and maybe your dinner.
All right.
Yeah, October 5th is going to be a bit busy. I don't think this week is that bad, but I shouldn't have said that. I take it back. Never know what's going to happen.
No,
Have a
well,
good week,
right
guys.
now, next week looks pretty light.
Okay.
Can we start at 9 a.m.?
Never know.
Never know.
Do not make promises you cannot keep.